It's the midweek. This is the AM show, and that by Mensa is becoming a bit of a theme song for us. Yeah, we'll continue playing it. We'll continue holding our Miss Leadership accountable. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. That's what we're going to be doing, and that's what we always do incisively on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Together with Bernice Abubedu-Lanza, we serve you the finest of morning television. Thank you for making the time to join us. Now, coming up this morning, guess what? As always, the news. What do you have to know? What's going on in our country and percolating elsewhere? We'll be bringing that to you. We'll serve you sports after that with Mubarak Haruna. And right after that, before sports, the news review, of course, with political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. And then we get into our big stories. Now, we're going to be discussing, I don't want to say conglomerate, but a number of issues this morning with our guests and from both sides of the political divide. One, Kweku Ricketts-Hagan is Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South. And then Dr. Dixon Adomaku-Kisi, he is Member of Parliament, Anya Soto. And both of them will join us for those all-important conversations. But then in the second belt of our show, we'll be hosting John Manche Akwete. And he will be sharing with us his political journey and what we can expect as he vies for the governing New Patriotic Party's parliamentary candidacy in the Ningo Pram constituency. We'll bring you details of that later on the show. Today's a Wednesday. It's the midweek. We'll be bringing you, courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, AM Business. Stay tuned for that as we talk about how Ghana is striving towards digitizing the economy, the adoption of emerging technology and innovations in business processes as they remain critical. We'll be telling you a lot about that. And of course, how about a show letting you talk about the things that concern you? We'll offer you the microphone at the appropriate time for you to share your thoughts with us. In the course of the live stream, let's know what's on your mind. On that note, we settle for the news right up next. A warm welcome back. Let's serve you the news now. And in our first story, the Joy Clean Ghana campaign is yielding positive behavioral changes as 8 out of 10 people within the Accra metropolis have changed their approach to sanitation in their communities. This was contained in a survey conducted by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly into the impact of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign over a 2-year period. There's more in this report.
The Clean Ghana campaign began with the goal to name and shame environmental health and sanitation offenders on camera to serve as deterrent whilst promoting good hygiene practices of environmental health and sanitation within the Accra metropolis.
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has quickened its steps to introduce star rating systems to improve sanitary conditions. Just like hotels receive stars, the AMA has commenced the assessment of public toilet facilities with a star rating system.
That was one of the episodes where the AMA was on inspection tour of some public toilet facilities. After 4 years of airing the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, the AMA has conducted a research into its impact on the audience. The survey was done in 3 sub-metros called clusters of the AMA.
250 respondents were selected from each of the 3 sub-metros for the study. Also, 30 respondents each from the 10 regions, making 300, were also interviewed, making a total of 1,050 respondents. The regions include Ashanti, Northern, Upper West, Central, Volta, Bono Ahafo, Western, Upper East, and Eastern region.
One may ask, how many of the respondents followed the Clean Ghana campaign?
The study found that 615 people followed the Joy Clean Ghana campaign on a regular basis, with 247 following when they were around. Another 109 persons said they followed it twice a week, and 79 persons said they followed it once in a while.
The study found that 83% of the respondents have had a change in behavior after the exercises.
83% of the respondents said they had had a change in behavior after following the Joy Clean Ghana exercises. 8% said there had not been any change, and 9% of the respondents could not tell. Going deeper into the findings, 50% of the respondents said they are very careful about food safety now. 24% said they've stopped buying food from outside. 18% also said they have started doing the right things, with 8% of the respondents saying they have stopped selling in dirty environments.
The report concludes that a Joy Clean Ghana campaign brought life into the environmental health awareness in Ghana.
We are doing this, like I keep saying, as a continuous improvement measure. They will not be worried. It will rather put the operator and the cleaners on their toes, and it also gives some comfort to the user. So it's a win-win situation.
This report serves as a background for the Joy Clean Ghana campaign to expand into other areas in the country. The next phase of the exercise will see us coming to a place closer to you. For Joy News, Samuel Kojo-Brace, Accra.
In our next story, the Plant Genetic Resources Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has introduced improved varieties of Bambara groundnuts to selected farmers at Bugri in the Tempane district of the Upper East region. A majority of the farmers selected were women because, according to the organization, the Bambara groundnut is predominantly cultivated by women. Correspondent Albert Sori now reports.
Bambara groundnut is a leguminous crop grown for food. Sometimes called the Bambara bean, it is highly rich in protein. In the Upper East region, Bambara groundnut is very important in the traditional settings, mainly because it is an important staple in many households. It can be used as a substitute for beans and therefore is in constant demand in local markets. Many women in the Upper East region cultivate Bambara groundnut because it contributes to the financial stability of households. According to the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, difficulty in getting access to fertile lands for the cultivation of this important food crop, coupled with the inability of the indigenous varieties to cope with harsh climates, is posing a big challenge, especially for women farmers. Patrick Atama is a plant breeder at the Manga station of the Savannah Agriculture Research Institute of the CSIR.
Over the years, Bambara groundnut production in terms of land size keep reducing because it's been neglected to the feeble and also to women. And after the men have used the juicy part of their land to cultivate cereals and other cash crops, they leave the marginal lands for women to work on it. Aside that, it's a crop that comes with a lot of labor, from planting, weed control to harvesting. So a lot of people are shying away from it. But we believe that with high yielding varieties, coupled with production technologies like effective weed control measures and also mechanization for threshing, we can be able to overcome this drudgery in production.
Against this backdrop, the Plant Genetic Resources Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has introduced improved varieties of Bambara groundnut to selected farmers in the Bugri community in the Tempane district, with special attention to women farmers. The farmers were given the opportunity to select from varieties of Bambara groundnuts that are suitable to the soils in their communities. This project is known as Seeds for Resilience, a 3-year project supported by the Global Crop Trust.
We've evaluated some of our sessions. We've come out with the promising ones. And now, in collaboration with our farmers, we want to select the ones that are fit for their cultivation and for the purpose of their cultivation. That's why we do a participatory varietal selection. Now, the aim of this is that we at the research would not sit down and choose something for the farmers, but in collaboration with the farmers, we all come out with a variety that is accepted by them and for their environment, and also to boost their production. And by so doing, farmers also own the variety because the selection process was mainly by them.
The Seeds for Resilience project is aimed at strengthening the link between the National Gene Bank scientists and farmers in order to improve food security. A research scientist at the Plant Genetic Resources Research Institute of the CSIR, Matilda Ntowa Bisa, says Bambara groundnut has the potential to economically empower women in farming communities.
The reasons for selecting these crops one, they are good for nutrition, they are good for income generation, and also ensures security and nutrition of the people resourceful.
Some of the farmers who spoke to Joy News were excited about the improved varieties of Bambara groundnut, which they will soon be cultivating on their farms. For Joy News, Albert Sori, Buguri, Timpani District.
In our next story, the European Union ambassador to Ghana, Irkat Razali, says funds allocated to the Mole National Park should also be used to support its fringe communities to improve their livelihoods as well. The European Union has doled out over 1.5 million euros to the national park for the implementation of the Mikes and SIPSI projects. Under the projects, several range camps have been constructed for the rangers, and the forestry guards have been equipped with logistics. Rafiq Salam was at the Mole National Park in the Savannah region, where the donation of the items took place, and now reports.
The Mole National Park is one of Ghana's 7 national parks. It is the country's longest wildlife refuge that was established over 60 years ago. The park is one of the prime sites for the biodiversity conservation program in Ghana and is home to several animal species. Notable among them are the elephants and buffaloes. Over the years, there have been concerns about the survival of these animals, especially the elephants. The park is fringed by over 33 communities whose dependence on the wildlife without replenishing to meet socio-economic needs has gradually led to significant decline of resources in the area. Concern about the plight of the animals and the over 40,000 people living on the fringes of the park, the Mikes and SIPSI projects funded by the European Union came into being. The twin projects are aimed at equipping the rangers and the guards with equipment and logistics to prevent the killing of the animals by poachers and also to economically empower the people living on the fringes of the park. Both projects are expected to end by the close of the year. European Union Ambassador to Ghana, Irkat Razali, threw further light on the projects.
The MIC is equipping the young men and rangers with the skills and the logistics. We have heard what it is about: surveillance range camp units, field posts that I had the honor to commission today, 4x4 vehicle, radios, uniforms to perform their function as law enforcers through surveillance and patrolling the park. This program, the MIC program, has been around since 2021 and is expected to end by the close of this year. The other brother SIPSI program is to support the management of the park resources, meaning its flora and fauna, the animals and the flowers, through the development of the management and support to the fringe communities in boosting their incomes through additional livelihoods. Because the European Union is not only about protecting the wildlife, the fauna and the flora, but to create opportunities for the communities. The European Union has funded both program MIC with 600,000 euros and the SIPSI with 1,200,000 euros.
Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Idris Musa Superior, welcomed the support by the European Union to the park.
The support received by the European Union has been timely and helpful in stemming the precipitous decline of and in the protection of our natural resources, and also providing much needed respite for our communities in terms of livelihood options. It is my belief that effective management of the wildlife is best achieved through a given focused value for those who live with it. It is also my firm conviction that those who live with it and bear the cost of wildlife must be primarily beneficiaries of its management.
Equally happy is the manager of the Moli National Park, Ali Mahama.
I say they are well equipped because now they have been supplied with uniform, they have been supplied with boots, they have been supplied with food ration to go to the field. Their accommodation has been rehabilitated. 2 new outpost camp at hotspots have been constructed for the staff, and so the staff are well equipped and they are well accommodated.
Well, on our final story to cap off the news, stakeholders are poised to leverage the African Continental Free Trade Area to promote industrial drives across the continent. This, they say, are optimistic, and they are optimistic of the surest way of building the local economy and contributing to creating jobs and consequently eradicating poverty. This ran through speeches of various speakers at the opening ceremony of the 6th Volta Trade and Investment Fair 2023 in Ho.
The Jubilee Park is hosting the 6th Volta Trade and Investment Fair in Ho, where various businesses and entities have taken stands to exhibit their products and services. Addressing the opening ceremony, the Volta OT and Eastern Regions chairperson of the Association of Ghana Industries, Delaga Janku, stressed the Volta region's role in promoting intra-trade on the African continent.
The Volta region is poised to play a significant role in taking full advantage of AFTA. And we hope that at the end of the 14th day, our story towards the forward march at achieving our success and taking a chunk of the AFTA cake will be different, will be favorable. We hope that we can all advance this cause and pray to the God Almighty that Volta region will prosper from strength to strength.
The national president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Humphrey Dake, advocated the even distribution of investments across the country to mitigate rural-urban drifts.
The AGI believes it will also be expedient to decentralize investments across our country, creating a fair distribution of economic opportunities in order to minimize the rural-urban drift. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we must also forge visible partnerships that encourage heavy investment in our productive sectors as we bring our African colleagues from Namibia through Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and Togo, that together we will partner and bring significant transformation to the Volta region.
The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, stressed the need to promote industrialization and exports in the region to drive economic growth.
Our vision still remains to make our region a producing and exporting region. This vision demands an innovative and strong trade and industrial drive. Our mission is to create a productive economy where citizens participate in growing the economy. This means we are set to nurture the private sector as a productive unit of the economy. Our goal is to recreate a society with smaller government and a bigger private sector.
The Namibian Deputy Minister of Information, Communication and Technology, Mathieu Fleur, emphasized the need to leverage Africa's resources to build the continent's economy.
We are the youngest continent in the world, and our population is expected to almost double by the year 2050. We need to leverage these resources, both our natural and human capital resource, to maximize the potential of trade in Africa, by Africans, and for Africa. Every child, ladies and gentlemen, is the sum product of the environment they are born in. As a child of Africa, I am a product of the current Africa.
The Volta Trade and Investment Fair, which brought together over 200 businesses, would end on the 10th of December 2023. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Ho.
Welcome back. Time now for the news review. It's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just make your way to any of their branches. Here they're at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Then there's Kumasi Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Siama and Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. It helps us start the news review this morning, and my guest, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, he is a political scientist. He is also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, sir?
I am well, please. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm very well.
We bless the Lord. As always, we'll give you the opportunity. Any recent issues you'd like to reflect on? I mean, there's been talk about a 24-hour economy. There's been talk about banning the import of certain products, from rice to poultry to fruit juices to yemwadie, what you would usually have with your TZ or something of the sort, the intestines of some of these animals, among other issues, crucial issues. We can also talk about the spillage of another dam, which has led to flooding in some other communities. Any quick reflections? Anything else you'd like to reflect on before we start?
Yes, I want to look at that issue, which is about some MPP members trying to absorb the vice president from anything that not work well with the economy, and want to always glorify him for all the major policies of government and all that. Governance is always undertaken with integrity and with honesty. I know we are in difficult times. Part of the problems we find ourselves in are not the creation of the government, that I agree. But I want government to also admit that some of the things that have affected us and push us to the corridors of IMF was done by the government. In other words, government had a hand in that. So the vice president, being the head of economic management team, cannot absorb himself in this respect. So I expect him to come out and say that, yes, I'm a human being. Our government made mistakes, but I'm here to correct them. And that is the way to go. But those who want to justify some of these things and sometimes come out to tell us that, well, when we are in difficulty, we can blame the vice president because he's not the man in charge. Those comments will not help anybody. They'll rather create more difficult situations for the vice president and give him more questions to answer when it comes to campaign. Because where the government has done well, take, for instance, issue of what do you call the internet things. You see the vice president there taking credit, yes, about digitization and the rest of them. You see where the government is doing well. You see the vice president coming in that, oh, he's the one who did this. Governance is always associated with what? Pluses and minuses. In other words, there are problems, there are benefits. Where there are benefits, you have to what? Accept that. But where there are problems, accept the problems as well, and then deal with them head on. Don't run away from them, and then leave it to the doorstep of somebody and say, yes, he is in charge and all that. Otherwise, there's no point you asking whenever there are praises. There's no point accepting the praises. When it comes to blame, you should be able to accept the same blame and then work with that. That's the spirit behind the governance. Any other thing is an aberration. It's not a normal thing.
It's an interesting point you make, and a very important one, I should say, because that is one of the problems I have had with leadership on many fronts. In the instance where there is blame to be apportioned, no one wants to accept the blame. But when there's praise, then there's acceptance. And I've always found that rather curious. I'm just looking for, which reminds me of the probe recently with MFA Apao, because in there was Mustafa Hamid, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid. And you remember his famous statements about the nation is sinking, the nation is beyond. And you remember in that video when he wept before the 2016 elections. Do you remember that video?
Yes, I did. Yes,
good.
I do recall that.
And today, I mean, recently he had a conversation with MFA Apao on the probe. And then he said, despite the challenges, we have rescued the country. If you remember in that old video, he was saying, we need to rescue the country. We need to rescue the country. Now he's telling us his party has rescued the country. Such rhetoric is what, for me, linked to what you just said, I find highly problematic, because you come and meet something, you say it's really bad, and you take over, and this is what we have. And the ability to accept that we have not delivered on our promise. I find it difficult, Doc, and we are both students of politics, you much more advanced, I studied under you. I wonder what it is that makes our politicians unable to say, oh, you know, people, I wanted to do 100%, but maybe coming into government, I realized with what's in our kitty and maybe with certain challenges, I can only do 40 or 50%. But this is our reality. Please come on board and let's do this. Rather than when everyone can see maybe you've done 35%, yet you want to convince us somehow, as though we were bereft of thinking, that you are done 95%. I don't know whether you get what I mean.
I do get, and I share in the same pain with you, because sometimes it's not only annoying, but it puts us off in the area of politics. That why do we have leaders who don't want to be, honest for once, for all of us to accept? Because we know what is going on. So you can't come and deceive us into believing that you have, you have done something in no time, for which reason we have to praise you and all that. I find it extremely strange. And they can't govern with honesty. That's the problem. And they don't want to admit where they go wrong. That, look, I said it, I'm not able to do it, I am sorry. I'll go and look at it and come back. Is it too difficult to do? It's worrying, and we need to punish politicians in that regard. That you promise, you don't deliver, and then more so when you fail to accept the problem and fix it, we need to punish them by voting them out, such individuals. You don't need to entertain them. That's the only way to go. Because all the time they get away with these things, because we don't punish them enough. But when we begin to take them on and punish them through our vote, then when they are dealing with us, they will be very careful. Otherwise, they will continue to take us for a ride.
Thank you very much, Doc. Let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper. E-jobs for all to reach 10,000 youth. SHS1 registration Monday, 477,772 students placed, but bit of a worry as well, because I also actually had someone share with me yesterday. Let me just fish out the message, just because I've read that. So the person sent to me a message. Please invite the education minister for him to explain why students are not being placed for the 2023 and 2024 academic year yet. My granddaughter included. She chose Abri Girls, but doesn't know when she'll be admitted, or any school for that matter. What is going on? And then she sent me a copy of the school placement bit. There are always problems with this thing, and I'm wondering when would ever have a seamless process. And this is something that we'll be discussing. So, Mr. Education Minister, Dr. Educhum, if you're listening, people are already sending messages with concerns. Let's get these things thrashed out. President hasn't refused a cent to bill. That's according to the presidency. And then 10 billion Ghana cedis goes into Agri. Finance Minister reveals at AgriFest Awards dinner replaces Farmers' Day Durbar. So that's basically the main news. 10 billion cedis going into agriculture. But let me do some of those other stories. Page 13, and then I'll go to 16. So, an entrepreneurship program targeted at providing employment to over 10,000 youth in 9 mining regions of the country has been launched. launched. Now, the Entrepreneurship Jobs for All, that is E-Jobs for All, an initiative of the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program, is meant to address illegal mining activities. The program forms part of the apprenticeship, skills training, and entrepreneurship model of the NAELP, would ensure that the 10,000 young people are trained in modern entrepreneurial skills and support build their businesses over a period of 5 years. It is being implemented in partnership with the Community and Entrepreneurial Development Initiative, that is CD Ghana, Dunin Deshpande Queen's Innovation Center at Queen's University, Canada, and Lidogo Incorporated in Canada as well. Good initiative, but you know what my concerns are, Doc? As always, it appears for everything, we have to get a new program. The Vice President has said we've created 2.3 billion jobs. Where are they? Then you look at these developments. We have the youth employment, different strands of the youth employment program. Different strands. Some focusing on TVET and all of that. So why can't we feed into that? Why do we have to enact something else? It's like reinventing the wheel. And my problem is that every time we do something like this, money, huge sums of money are going to be invested. Someone is going to have to provide certain resources. You go in there and there's politicization and this and that. Why can't we just stick to what we already have in creating the same jobs? That's my take. Then there's the other story I said I would look at on page 16 very quickly, and then you'll come in, Doc. President hasn't refused assent to bill. That's according to the presidency. So the office of the president at the Jubilee House has described as inaccurate claims by the Speaker of Parliament and the minority caucus that President Akufo-Addo has refused to assent to the Criminal Offences Amendment number 2 Bill 2023. It assured the public and the media that bills, including this current bill, the Criminal Offences Amendment number 2 Bill 2023, were being attended to with the utmost respect for constitutional mandates and legislative processes. A statement signed by the Director of Communications at the Office of the President, Eugene Ahin, said President Akufo-Addo was mindful of Article 1067 of the Constitution, which affords the President 7 days to review and give his assent to any bill presented to him. Interestingly, when it was raised in Parliament that the President was in breach, then I believe it was the Majority Leader, and if I am wrong, my apologies, I believe it was the Majority Leader who came and said that it had actually not been presented to him. How that happens in Ghana, only God knows. Your take.
Yes, I'll start with the last one. I was also surprised to hear that the thing has not gone to the president yet. And, sorry, people started accusing him. It's very strange. I should...
Hello, Doc. So we're having a little bit of a challenge with your connection. So let's see whether it's better now. We'll try to work it out. Okay, so Doc, if you can hear me, it appears your internet connectivity is not so good. So I'll give you some time to try and reconnect so you can share your ideas on all of those matters. In the meantime, let's stay on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. AMA to roll out operation Let the Traffic Flow to decongest CBD ahead of Christmas. That's the Central Business District and other parts of the metropolis ahead of the festive season. Sometimes it is literal hell going through Accra when the festive season hits. But that also reminds me, sometimes the very comical things that people affiliated to whichever party do. Recently, I saw a post by Gabi Otredako suggesting that at a certain mall, there were quite a number of people there. So it showed that our economy was rebounding and that, look, there will always be a certain bracket of people who can afford certain things in any country. If you go to a mall or you go to an eatery and you see people there, it doesn't mean things are well. That is the bottom line. And even go to these restaurants, speak to the restaurateurs, speak to the hoteliers. They will tell you that business is not what it used to be, that things have taken a tank. So I found that rather curious, and this actually reminds me when I was talking about the congestion in the city. The fact that you will still see people going to do this and that, what is the quantum of what they are purchasing versus maybe how many years ago? So let's be realistic. I find it, I always say that for politicians or people affiliated to political parties, let's season our words and our thinking. Because if you say certain things just to maybe score some political points or gain political capital, there are people who read through these things, who can read between the lines. Let's not be insulting. People are suffering. People are dealing with a whole lot. And you can't gloss over that and make it appear. The other day, I heard an economist at the University of Ghana also suggesting on some station that the economy has rebounded. Even after the finance minister himself, when he suggested we had gone round the corner, quickly went into reverse gear. But anyway, do we have Dr. Asa Asante back? All right. So when we get him, we'll have him react to some of these important matters. But just to bring you a few more stories before we get Doc back. On the international front, fragile truce in Gaza extended. Now, a fragile truce between Israel and Hamas entered its fifth day on Tuesday, with the militant group promising to release more hostages to delay the expected resumption of the war, and Israel under growing pressure to spare Palestinian civilians when it renews its offensive. For the first time since the ceasefire began, Israel and Hamas traded accusations of a serious violation. The Israeli military said 3 explosive devices were detonated near its troops at 2 locations in northern Gaza, and that militants at one site opened fire on the troops, who fired back. It said its troops were in positions in accordance with the terms of the truce. Hamas in turn accused Israel of committing, quote, a blatant breach of the ceasefire, triggering retaliation by its fighters, without providing details. Anyway, there's also all 41 workers rescued from collapsed Indian tunnel after 17 days. And Russian court extends detention of reporter. Russia will keep the American reporter Evan Gershkovich in custody for another 2 months as he awaits trial for espionage. A Moscow court has ruled, heightening concerns about the fate of the jailed journalist. And in some of these jurisdictions, once you get there and you are from a certain part of the world, it's a pretty delicate matter, isn't it? There's also ICC prosecutors halt 13-year investigation over Kenya's violent pulls. All of those stories in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let me bring you some sporting news right before we say goodbye to the paper. Oh, there was something. Let me quickly get to it. I saw something on page 46. Yes, it is 46. It's not on the back page today. There it is. So, Hazaka's ladies maintain perfect form. I am so excited by what the Ladies League and what they are doing in there, and what the Black Queens, Black Princesses are doing. I keep saying we're not doing them enough justice. We're pumping so much into male soccer. Look at our Black Stars. Look at what they're doing. I'm not saying it's the worst team in the world, but sometimes we meet teams that are so far below us. We look at our performances, and we're investing so much money in them. How about we do same with the ladies, the women who are winning laurels and hoisting high the flag of Ghana? How about that? I feel our society has become too chauvinistic, even in sports, even in politics. We've promised that we would get more numbers in parliament and all of that. All of those have been empty promises. We don't fulfill them. There's Black Queens to run riot against Namibia, and Hazaka's ladies maintain perfect form. There's also Hearts host Nania FC at Pobiman. Of course, Abedi Ayu Pele's Nania FC. Doc, welcome back. You join us via phone now so we can have a smooth connection. You are sharing your thoughts on some matters. Hello, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead with your thoughts.
All right.
And Doc, please lower the volume on your set. We're getting feedback. So just speak to me on the phone.
Okay. Is it okay now?
It is. It's better. Please go ahead.
Yes. I want to touch on this criminal offences bill.
Right.
And the matters arising. If you look at the bill, as we Ghanaians have shown in terms of interest in the bill, one would have thought that soon after its passage in Parliament, they will quickly give it to the President for assent. But it appears that was not the case. And the question is, why? There are processes and procedures in Parliament related to what we are talking about. So I'm wondering how they got it wrong. I think the institutions in that regard are not working. Institutions, I'm talking about the procedures, the processes, the norms. They should get them right so that at each point in time, when a bill is passed and it receives the necessary accompanying documents, such as the certificates and the rest of them from the Speaker, it quickly gets to the President for action. This delay and this banter, if they had done that, would be unnecessary. It would not be where we are. We need the law to come and address societal challenges. So I expect this thing to be done in no time. Let me move on to the issue of the entrepreneurship program that you are talking about. And the whole idea is beautiful. We are going to pump money into training young people so that they desist from undertaking galamsey and the effect that we are all worried about. Brilliant idea. But I share in your view, the view that always want to come up with a new idea. The old ones, quickly, we are very much in a haste to throw it away and then jump onto a new one. We don't get to the end and the new one is born. All these things are problems associated with public policy. I'm not sure we are getting our public policies right, because any policy that you throw out, first of all, you need to think through, because it's going to be financed by the taxpayer. So you are aware of that. And remember, it is what? A future problem you are dealing with. So you want to bring all these things on board so that the policy that you bring out will stand the test of time. And you review it to assess. That is the evaluation aspect. That is what is missing. We do more often than not, from where I sit, I believe that we don't do much evaluation on our policy to assess whether there's a need to improve the policy or there's a need to what? Jettison the policy or, do something important to the policy. All these things, we ignore them, and we tend to have policies that are not able to stand the test of time. I think we need to ensure value for money and ensure that all these policies we get in place are policies worth pursuing, and then we are able to get to their logical conclusion, and that will bring us what we need.
Well, thank you for sharing those thoughts. Let's quickly get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. 6 die in ghastly accident at Brekum. There's all set for Takwa to host 39th National Farmers Day. And then government committed to supporting local producers. That's according to Ken Oforiatta. And Lakeside Estate sweeps 35th grader awards. On the back page, 600 homes flooded following overflow of Dawenya irrigation dam. That was the story I was making mention of at the very start of the show. And government committed to supporting local producers. That's where the story is. So let's bring you that story. About 600 homes at Dawenya in the Ningo Prampram district of the Greater Accra region have been flooded following an overflow of the Dawenya irrigation dam. The flood has displaced hundreds of residents in the area, forcing a number of them to evacuate their homes to safer places. Interesting, coming on the back of what we've seen in Akosombo. And so as of the time of filing this report, the water level was at window level. Doc, window level.
Can you imagine that? With
some relief efforts being undertaken by the local authorities and emergency response teams, including NADMO. The authorities include the Member of Parliament for the area, Sam Nate George, Chief Executive of the District, Alatif Teteamano, and others. I say this country, if... anyway... let me just add this other story and get your reaction. The government has pledged its commitment to support local producers to help boost their capacity to meet the nation's consumption needs. Minister of Finance Ken Oforiatta made the pledge yesterday at the 5-day agricultural festival to herald this year's National Farmers Day. But there's been a standoff as far as the import of certain products into the country is concerned. What is your take on these two matters, Doc?
Yes, I'll deal with the Dawenya issue first. It's a sorry story. Because we have one on our hands that we have not dealt with it. I was listening to the MP for the area, Mr. Kujeto Ablakwa, virtually in tears about the fact that the people are not put in a proper condition worthy of a salt. And now they are living like paupers on their own land and the rest of them. These are stories we don't want to know, we don't want to hear. The state must do things and do things right. But back to the issue of the winner, spillage and its effects. And you have people who have defied the rules, built, and create problems for everybody in that society. And my question is, who are the local authorities in that area? And I'm talking about the assembly. All right? Is it working? Are people earning their wages? Because before you put up any structure in any legal area, you need to be able to what? Get permits. Did they get permits from the rightful authority? Did they also get the necessary procedures abreast and all that? It tells you that there is a problem. There is a big problem there. People go and build anyhow, and the assembly also do not have the courage to put full structures down. That is the problem I have in this country, where people do things against the law, and nobody has the courage to bring them to book. So impunity becomes the order of the day, and that's the problem we are having here. If we don't deal with this thing in no time, it's going to aggravate and create more problems for us. We need to set up as a society and own our society, defend our society, and make sure that rules and regulations that we develop really perform their role and regulate the conduct of people. If we do it, we go against this, I'm afraid, we are gradually weakening the capacity of the state, and a time will come, you are likely to have what? A failed state. And that is what you and I don't want. So all the talk, all the advocacy we do, not that we hate anybody or we are against anybody, but we want our society intact, because all that we are doing, weakening the administrative capacity of the state, we are weakening the extractive capacity of the state, and we are weakening every aspect of the state capacity. We are setting the state for chaos, and that we must be mindful of.
Let's go to the Daily Guide newspaper now, Doc. Side chick to cuff 10,000 Ghana cedis after court trashes case. Yeah, she's supposed to bring that up. 10,000 Ghana cedis. Jubilee House fights Speaker over criminal offences bill. Then there's Ashanti MP to partner Baumia. That's according to Jim Fua. There also is Tor Junior staff back new deal to revamp company, and Police Commander Corporal hot over unlawful narcotics possession. Let me start from there. So the Gbechile Circuit Court has granted bail in the sum of 200,000 Ghana cedis to Assistant Superintendent of Police Nasiru Amadu and number 51836 General Corporal Emmanuel Menta with 3 sureties for unlawful possession of narcotic drugs purportedly for trafficking. Now, the case has been adjourned to December the 20th, 2023, for them to come back to court. The court, presided over by Mrs. Eleanor Kakra Barnes Botri, said their plea for bail was considered because they were police officers who were well known in the community. Then there is MPs not independent-minded. That's according to the Speaker of Parliament. Members of Parliament not independent-minded. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, has stated that there are no truly independent members of Parliament in the country, and that many of them are, quote, now the amplifiers of the views of their parties. Quoting him again, he says, so on the floor they say something, and when you meet them outside, they tell you something different, he added. According to him, the country's polarized politics made it difficult for MPs to have the courage to stand on their own. They'll whip you in line. How do you react to these two stories?
Yes, I will deal with the last one first. MPs are not independent-minded. It's a problem. It's a problem. But part of the problem is attributed to the fact that we have a system that is always looking for MPs to be whipped to line. And failure to do that, you are punished one way or the other. Who want to lose a seat and who want to lose his position? So you see people gravitating towards that and checking their responsibility to their society. That's unfortunate. because we believe that we vote people to office, particularly so in Parliament, to be able to stand and defend that. That is the representation function of the people, of the MPs. They represent not only our interests, but our dreams, our aspirations, and everything. So when they go there and they want to represent the views of the parties alone, I'm afraid, then they are creating a problem. Then we are not seeing MPs performing the true functions of in Parliament. So it's a problem. We need to fix this. And this can be fixed through constant socialization, which I am aware of that Parliament take their MPs through. And we as society must also rise up to the occasion and criticize them and suggest ways by which they can run away from such difficulties. That is the way to go, because whether we like it or not, we need our MPs to be there at all times and support the cause of our freedom, the cause of our democracy, the cause of our development. So any other thing that will work against our interests, we need to be able to resist it without fear or favor. Then we move on to the Ashanti MP to partner Bawumia.
Yes, I wanted to just give that's the last story we'll do. I just want to give a little detail to that. So the ruling New Patriotic Party's national women's organizer, Kwabena Duffuor, has hinted at the likely running mate of the party's flag bearer for the 2024 elections, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. According to her, the party has already decided on the suitable partner and has accordingly informed the flag bearer of the decision. Madam Duffuor stated on Peace FM on November 22, 2023, that the party's pick is a male member of parliament from the Ashanti region. When quizzed whether this meant the individuals aspiring to the job who are not MPs should give up their hopes, she drew a parallel to the past, saying that varied perspectives existed prior to the election of Vice President Bawumia. But Mr. Osei-Wusu, I'm talking about First Deputy Speaker Joseph Osei-Wusu, recently told Joy News that the running mate for the party's flag bearer will be chosen from the Ashanti region. So I guess all directions point to the Ashanti region. But what does that mean for you as a political scientist? That's our last story.
It's a good move. A good move in the sense that the running mate is an important, person when we are talking about the presidency. You need somebody who is competent, somebody who can draw in a lot of votes. You need somebody who can step in the shoes of the president when there is death, there is resignation, and the rest of them. Right. So it's a whole lot of factors you consider. And above all, these things are not done ordinarily. They go to the field data and look at the one who is suitable for the work. So, yes, it's important that they consider all these things. And the Ashanti factor, for me, I support it in the sense that you don't pick a running mate from where you are less popular. You are not going to ginger anybody. But once you have the person from your stronghold or the swing area, then you are home and dry. In the sense that you will really ginger people, get more people to be added onto your support base. Remember that we are talking about a contest which is driven by numbers. So numbers are so critical. One can move you from a candidate to become a president. So when you pick from your stronghold, there is a likelihood for people to have the belief that, look, in absence of the president, our man is going to be there and all that. And that will translate into vote for
Okay, so Doc,
yes, sir.
We have to go. I just quickly thought of this. If that were to happen, if the MPP were to pick a running mate from the Ashanti region, what would you think the NDC would have to do to counter that? Maybe pick someone from the Greater Accra region, which has always determined who becomes president? What do you think?
I believe that the same formula will work for them. Their stronghold is their number one, and they can also pick from the swing constituency. Okay. Right? I will be surprised if they pick a candidate from Ashanti region. They are not going to get additional votes in terms of the voting patterns, because if you have studied the psychology of voting relative to voter choices, I'm afraid Ashanti's vote based on conviction, based on what they believe in, and this will not ginger them in any way. They must where their strength is, and then get the maximum benefit from that area.
All right. Thank you very much. I was going to ask about Kennedy Agyapong, but he, of course, is a member of parliament, yes, but he represents the central region.
But that will not work.
The central region. So
Kennedy himself has run down the party on a number of fronts, for which reason his addition will be a monumental failure for the party because all the things he has said will be used against him and he cannot campaign. I'm afraid.
Right.
He's a fine gentleman, but the way he ran the campaign and the way the vice president team also ran the campaign is going to affect their chances if they should pair him with the vice president. I'm sorry to say that, but it's a blunt truth.
Right. Thank you, Doc. We always get into the politics of things because of our background, but thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning.
And enjoy the rest of the day.
I wish you same. Thank you. Dr. Kwame Asasante is a political scientist. He's also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. 2 quick birthdays have been prompted to this. Today happens to be the birthday of former President John Dramani Mahama. Happy birthday to you, sir. And we wish you the very best. You've been saying a lot in recent times. We can only wish you the best with that. The former first gentleman of the land, John Dramani Mahama. This I missed yesterday, and Samuel Kojo Brace, my sincere apologies. I have to do it today. Happy birthday to Honorable Samson K. Darko. Samson K. Darko, Assembly Member for Asafo, Electoral Area, 2nd D. And belated happy birthday to you, since it was yesterday, Samson K. Darko, Assembly Member for Asafo, Electoral Area in 2nd D. And may God richly bless you in all your endeavors. This segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Locate them at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard here in Accra. Kumasi Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji State Tema Community 22. Techiman Hanswa and Esiama in Zima. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of sporting action from the world of sports up next. Well, thank you very much for staying with us on the AM show. And it is time now for us to get into our big stories. We're hosting our guests this morning, and we're waiting for our guests from the other side. I always do this at the start, so you know. But joining us right now in the studio, Member of Parliament for Anyaso Wutuom, Dr. Dixon Adomakukisi. He joins the conversation. Later, we'll have the Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South also joining the conversation. I'm talking about Kweku Ricketts Hagan. Senior.
Yeah.
Fabum. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Why have you been hiding? You're playing hide and seek with us. What's up?
In French, they say pardon moi. Pardon me. I think you know, part of our work requires that we travel around the nation. So as part of monitoring, based on my committee, both health and public account, I've had to go to various parts of the country. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was in Cape Coast.
Okay. You were close to Ricketts.
Absolutely. I was going to tell him that, you know, yesterday I was in his area. We ended up checking on how the schools were doing in terms of malaria prevention and how knowledgeable the students were in terms of the benefits of using insecticide-treated nets. And then we distributed quite a number to a number of schools that were visited. So that takes us away. That's why sometimes I'm unable to come to the show. But pardon me, while I was away, I'm always with you because we watch you on the internet or on TV. So thanks for having me today. Yeah.
So there are quite a number of matters we've tabled for discussion today. Some of them focusing on the work of Parliament, but I'd like to start from your constituency, Anyaso Wutuom, like I always do with you, the members of Parliament. Yeah. What's the latest? There's this particular road. I've forgotten. Is it Antieku?
Antieku.
Antieku.
Yes.
You see, I remember every time I see you because I note that most of the time when you are on, people complain about that road. What are the latest developments in Anyasoto?
Yeah, so a huge portion of the Antieku road has been tarred.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You mean the bumpy that it's been leveled and even tarred?
Leveled and tarred. If you there's a point called Dela, from Dela through the municipal all the way to Anya Zonal Council is now tarred. They've had the first coating, so there'll be a second one. Currently, the same contractor is working out in Israel, Sotum Connect, which is where the Prince Coast University is. Because the university is a huge thing for us, we're working on that road so that the students can have the ease of traffic, and it connects to the Israel police station. So parts of Lomnava is also being touched. And we're hoping that when that is done, we can move to two key places, Palace Town and Agape. And then also the portion of the Antieku Road that has not been attended to will be attended to. The municipal chief executive, along with the road minister and myself, are very keen on making sure that this is done. The hold-up, and let me use this avenue, the hold-up has been the drains around the Antieku. In fact, right in front of my hospital, that there's some huge drains we need to do. And that is the hold-up, because if we don't do it, whatever tarring we do will be washed away. So that is why there's that hiccup. But once we attend to the drains, the work will commence for the remaining portion of the Antieku road. But be it as it may, I think that considering some of the efforts we've put in terms of change of contractors, and thanks to the Minister of Roads. I mean, when we came on board, the past 3 years, per his visit to my constituency, I made the case that we had to make a change, and he agreed to making changes to some of the contractors we had. And that is why we're benefiting now from the fruits of his trip to our constituency. So I'm very grateful. Anytime I see him, I'm very touched, and I'm still working through Cocoa, as well, to see if we can get something, for Anya Sotum, because the likes of Onyinase, which is around Awoshi, the likes of Blue Kiosk to Odogono Senior High School, the likes of, once again, NIC, Palace Town area, they also need to see something. And more importantly, I mean, Fun Milk rings a bell. We're looking to encourage the contractor based on some IPC payments so that he can come back and complete the work he's been doing. But as you know, the kitty is quite low in terms of cash, and not everything can be done as quickly as we would have wished.
Interesting dynamics. Let me just let those of you who would like to watch us, unfortunately nowadays I hear there are some changes on Facebook and it's difficult. So at a point, for example, the news review, you got the stream live on the feed. But now if you go to Joy News, you would have to look for videos before you can get it, which affects, those of you who are able to find it on the thread. So when you go on Joy News on Facebook, just go to videos, and that's where you'll find it. It's on and off. I don't know what Meta is doing with these updates. I guess we'll have to find a way around that development. All right, so just go to videos like I am doing, and then you can get the feed from there. Now, having spoken about your constituency, let's stay in Parliament for a bit.
Yeah.
There's the ban on importation. It's become a controversial subject.
Yeah.
You can talk about the Yemwadie that you would have. Do you take TZ?
I should be, but I have never.
You've never tried it?
Yes.
You should try TZ.
I mean, forgive me. I don't even now take fufu. It's been so
you don't
long.
take fufu?
It's been so.
I don't take it.
It's been so long. And I always I sort of crave it, but I don't indulge at the moment.
See. So yeah, the yemwadie, usually when you get your tuozafi, there must be yemwadie somewhere.
Yes.
In there, it's like wache without
willy.
You know that there must be.
Yeah.
There's that. There are some fruit juices. There's poultry products, rice,
sugar,
and other staples in there that are being tabled. Recently, my colleague Evans Mensah had a conversation with Kwabena Duffuor, which reminds me of when he was in Parliament recently talking about this, and at the end he was like, "Mommy, that always gets me laughing." But it's not a laughable subject. From one end, ISA, for example, of the University of Ghana tells us in the first half of 2023, we expended quite a bit on importing food products. So this is something that we've spoken about for a long time. At some point, we must get there. But the question is whether this is the point, because the other side is also raising concerns. Already, food is so expensive. I just went and got something this morning. If I tell you for that small bit how much I spent, you would be surprised. For a little bit of food and a little bit of protein, you would be surprised. So already things are so expensive. You do this, prices are going to skyrocket. What does that do for everybody, especially the poorest of the poor? How are they going to get by? Already, you have the telcos, MTN, because of some push from government for alignment in terms of its hegemony to ensure that other telcos can also. Now they are having to increase their prices. So maybe a bundle you would have got for X amount, now you have to pay about 3-4 times more, and you are still getting something pretty low. All of that is in there. How do you, from where you sit, react to all of this vis-a-vis the proposed importation on these items?
Well, let me say that the concept is commendable,
right?
And I will talk in a way, forgive me, for both sides to make the case very clear. But I want to cite Russia in all of this. Listen, Russia just began war with, Kosovo, or shall I say Ukraine. And within the space of about 3 months, a lot of the things that were important, they found substitutes. So, for instance, if they were importing apples, they found something else for their citizenry to enjoy. So what it means is that once they made a deliberate decision that when in times of war, there are some bans on us as a nation, that is Russia, our people still have to eat. People agreed, and so this is something that means that we need political will, and the masses also have to be brought on board for this to work. In the sense that if we, quote unquote, make rice importation illegal, are we sure that the average Ghanaian will be comfortable with local rice? We don't know. For instance, I enjoy my local rice, but are we sure? And do we have...
I mean, the foreign rice is an acquired taste, whether it's basmati rice or whatever Vietnam rice. But it took time to get here. It will take time to go back.
Exactly. So these are some of the key things we have to consider. Now, one of the biggest arguments against the ban on importation is that do we have the capacity to move from 0 to 100, let me say, in terms of production of local rice or sugar.
Or poultry.
And let me just stay in the domain of sugar and rice. Listen, I don't know what it is, and I'm sure you don't also know. Kwabena Sugar Factory, if it's the sugar cane we don't have, I don't know. If it's the management that is not working, I don't know. As it stands now...
As for that place, it's a whole problem.
As it stands now, this was one key thing that could encourage all of us to say that, okay, we have these tons of sugar being produced by the one factory that, former President Mahama touted as one of his major achievements. But here's the case that I don't think we get a cup of sugar really sustained every day.
In fact, before Alan Trematin,
yes,
went off to pursue his political ambitions of becoming president, we had been told that, hey, it's going to be, you remember?
I understand you.
Till today.
And even a CEO was appointed, I think a foreign guy, if I'm not mistaken, of Indian heritage or so. I think so. So the key thing here is that, listen, before we implement some of these things, all the few key things have to be in place. So that we are not running amok.
So we don't jump the gun, right?
And as it stands, I mean, I don't want a scenario where we've cut, and let me cite, listen, I was in Europe recently to look at tomato production, growing, and then the puree, and then the sauce production in Italy. And I must say, what goes into that? We are nowhere near. So for us to wake up overnight and say that, oh, we're not going to import tomato sauce again, without seeing anything on the ground, I would worry. And I think that this might be best done in sort of a piecemeal approach.
So gradual approach.
Where we come to terms with the fact that, okay, rice importation, this is going to be the cap. We're going to do either 75-25 or 60-40. I think that should be, so that if local poultry farmers can produce enough for 40% of the consumption in this country, then we can be moving somewhere. So that policy has to be strengthened. And the onus also is on government to support the private enterprises by way of tax incentives, or by way of appropriate roads network, by way of electrical.
Very true, because that also adds on to the cost.
Absolutely.
Bad roads, they are paying more for transporting the goods.
And I think that when we take these deliberate actions, and this is more of like an agro-finance discussion, where and industry. So really, I think there are three key committees that need to sit carefully on this. I'm looking at finance, I'm looking at industry, I'm looking at agric. And they should streamline and do things. And then, in fact, we have to add health, because the FDA, Food and Drug Authority or board, has to authenticate that these things that are coming to us to consume meet, quote unquote, basic minimum standards. Because we can't churn out sugar that is not good for consumption by simply trying to meet the tons of sugar that is being produced. Just as we check cement to make sure that the cement produced are of a certain standard, sugar has to be. And I think
even
that
the poultry. Poultry is a very delicate matter. We sometimes, the poisoning, the processing, if you don't do the right thing, you could kill people.
Let me say that my late uncle, Colonel Bamfo, was a poultry farmer. So poultry is something that, and that business still runs. Once in a while I get something small from that in Ashanti region. And I think that, when it comes to poultry, the fact remains that we underproduce for our consumption as a nation. And that is why sometimes I think that our, path to creating jobs is already in the country if only we'll apply. And if only all of us would have fair expectations. I must admit that this LI or this concept of doing, stoppage, or shall I say, putting a stop to importation of these things needs a lot of thinking, a lot of engagement, because the alternatives are also doing substitution. And sometimes you can stop certain things, but you have to have the appropriate substitute. And I, for one, from a health standpoint, Ghanaians should listen to me. All the fruit juices we import, that one, for instance, if you stop it tomorrow, we have oranges in this country, we have watermelon in this country, we have pineapple, and the average Ghanaian is not super time-bound, can buy the watermelon and cut it up and have it, or blend it and have it.
But you see, that's where it gets a bit tricky. I don't know the last time you checked the prices of fruits on the market. That's one. Then, I mean, people find it more, going through all these processes, you'll buy the fruit, you will expend the electricity, you'll do that. Some people may think, let me go for the finished product. It serves my purposes. Again, when you look at capacity, it's not everyone who would do that. The person in the rural area who may buy the ekumfi juice may not have a blender, okay? But they can afford Calipo or ekumfi juice or whatever the case may be. You also look at the capacity of industry to produce quite a bit to shore up. Well, I would always, this is where I would always be interested in finding out, for example, when it comes to juice production, okay, what percentage are we meeting in the market? And what percentage is coming from the abroad? Because look, we've been touting ekumfi juice. I was speaking about it time without number because it was one of the few 1D, 1F things that I really saw working. I talk about it every now and then.
It's a miracle.
But now, I don't see that much on the and you see, you observe
they actually export more now.
But that's interestingly, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because I remember from the start they said that they were going to produce so much that they would be able to export. But when I look around, look, there's a place right across the street.
Yes.
How many people I pay attention to these little details. You would see a ekumfi juice in a stack there. People will come and be buying other things compared to the ekumfi juice. What is wrong? Some say it's too sweet. Some have said that.
We're not marketing.
But I feel that on the other hand, one, marketing. I've not seen any advert of ekumfi juice before.
That's why
I've not seen anything before. So there are so many dynamics in there, and I'm very concerned if we are not meeting local demand and we are exporting, then I don't know what the thinking
or is. Local consumption is also not coming up. That's also another thing. But I really think that a concerted effort needs to be made. These 3-4 committees need to sit down and I think that iron out, and we need to also look at the possibility of substitutes. Whether the white sugar or the brown sugar, these things have to be thought out.
Brown sugar, I hear, is even healthier, right?
Absolutely. But like I said, these things have to be thought through, and it is powerful if we can achieve it. But listen, based on what I know, in terms of how we've struggled with local rice production, and then in terms of how we've struggled with meeting the demands of the poultry, let me say, consumers. So the consumers are the wachi seller on the street, the chop bar who uses chicken, and we are not meeting their demands. And then also I think that with increased production comes also reduction in the prices. And if we can increase the production of these products, it is very much likely that the cost to the individual Ghanaian will go down. And that is my worry. So this LI has multiple factors that is going to make it very difficult to get it really done. But I'm hoping that something during the appropriations, we may tinker with the numbers and then rather reduce the level of imports, and I think that might,
because you can't just do this. I mean, look at Nigeria, for example,
with their rice.
Even with rice, where the former administration would build rice pyramids and be touting, we've done this and that. They didn't.
They didn't.
Nigeria is struggling with that bit. I was in Lagos how long ago? The rice I ate was not Nigerian rice.
Yeah.
And I ate at different places. You get it. Yeah. Nigeria itself is struggling. So it's not something that you can... It's not something that you can... But you can, of course, there are some things you can look at. Their population is far... I mean, you can look at one state taking care of Ghana's entire population, or two states.
Yes.
Their population is huge, over 200 million. But the point is, while ISA, on one hand, is saying, look, this is not sustainable. You can't keep going like this where you are importing, and food, basic things.
I mean,
but on the other hand, you can't just go in one fell swoop, we're done.
One thing we can cut out, toothpick.
I noted it here. Look at this.
Because
I was just going to say, why are we importing toothpicks?
We have Diawa, and Diawa is fantastic. When you clip it and use it as a toothpick, fantastic.
But wait, are you speaking of the one used for cleaning your teeth.
Yes, if you nip it a little, there's a, you know, you can. No, I'm telling you.
If you nip, you're right. No, I'm just.
It works perfect.
It does, eh? I've actually never tried
because you don't use it often.
No, it's not. I don't use it often, true.
Give
but
it a try.
I've never given it. I have taken it away a piece, but to use it for that purpose.
Fantastic.
Hey, sir.
I'm telling you. And you know what? With appropriate marketing, if you take this on,
but the toothpick itself,
you have a huge following.
Bamboo and others, okay?
Yeah.
We have them. Why can't we make toothpicks?
And then to even make it fantastic, Sapo, the traditional one, it also works. Yes, it also works. So there are appropriate substitutes, which average Ghanaians and some of the likes of you can push. You know, when listen, I gave Asanka to my constituency and come and see, plenty talk, this and that. But Asanka is fantastic. Elsewhere, you know, happy delight. You put your banku or fufu or your mutuo with what do you call it, nkatinkwan, you know, in there, and it makes the food even more delicious. It's like eating wache in your ahabain. You understand? So I really think that we need.
There's something we can do
to make these
but
things.
It can't be an immediate get out.
Absolutely, it's going to be difficult. So I think looking at the numbers, rice importation, we might want to cut it to, like I said, 60-40, and see if the local people can get up to the 40.
Right.
Then we can begin to talk about, you know, transitioning to 50-50.
Right.
And then, you know, but to go from zero production or 25% production and then stopping all imports, that wouldn't be good for us. Already, listen, we don't produce enough for our population. That is a fact. Whether it's, wheat, whether it's, flour production, whatever it is, we don't produce enough. And it means that there's room for
enormous room,
agric investment in this country. And I think that, that is something that Ghana needs to look at. There's a lot of room for agro-business. And also, let me be mindful of the fact that some people would always prefer that Ghana imports because
for their own interest.
That's how they also get one or two things, if you know what I mean. Done. I was in your constituency yesterday.
Mr. Ricketts Hagan, thank you as well for being here, joining the conversation. Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South, he joins the conversation. We've been talking already about some of the crucial matters that Parliament is looking at, of which you are a member. But very, very, very quickly, since time is already not on our side, I just want to find out, what is Cape Coast South like, very quickly, before we get into the ban on imports? And just to top up to what you said, I recently heard that another farmer was going to, in the Aveime area, it's known for rice, 10,000 hectares and all of that, but it's still nowhere near providing enough for us. And like you also mentioned, the agric inputs, labor and all of that, if we get it right, that would mean many more jobs in that sector. But like you said, bits by bit. Coming back to you, Cape Coast South.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers, and good morning to the good people of Cape Coast. And my brother Doc.
He was in your area recently.
He said he was in my area. Yeah. I hope you were doing good there.
Yes, we went to work on malaria prevention.
Okay, that's great.
Some of your schools.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
health committee.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should have probably stayed in medicine instead of.
And then we also visited lawyer Reku Brobe's side.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Kakum. National Park.
Well done.
But I didn't go to Kakum National Park.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm sure the discussion is about this Ministry of Trade and Industries restriction, or the ally that they want to bring on a restriction. I think, in principle, nobody is against the policy. I mean, I have been a deputy minister of Trade and Industry before, and I know, apart from finance, and I know the challenges that we have, in this country. The problem is not with the ally, or not with the policy, but it's the way the ally is structured that gives so much powers to the minister in what we believe will end up being abused. I mean, we know that as a country, we import, too much. Things that we should be able to do at this stage. As Doc was talking about, toothpick and all that. This stick he's talking about, I know about it. if that can actually make toothpicks, why aren't people taking it and doing so? You know, we're moving forward. We are not going backwards. Yes, you can peel it off and all that, but we can probably get an industry to peel it off and put it into proper size.
Just as we have a toothpick.
Just as we have a toothpick. So it actually doesn't make sense that there are certain things that we are still importing into this country. But before you make that decision of restricting importation or banning them, you've got to make sure that your people are going to be self-sufficient. And that is not the situation at the moment. So,
but self-sufficiency doesn't happen overnight. It's
well, it doesn't, yes, but you plan towards it. These guys have been in power for 7 years. If this is what they want to do on the 8th year, they could have planned this from the very beginning and say that these items, we are making a deliberate, policy decision to do these things so that by the time we get to the 7th year, maybe we would have gotten to some equilibrium. 50%.
Better late than never. Plus, you also have to appreciate the fact that Alan Chemating moved off, and this is Tahiru Hammond's time in the sun, and he is now contemplating some of these matters. I'm sure you're fully aware. Issa has said that our dependence on imports, especially when it comes to food. When you look at our wage bill, we're spending so much importing food into the country. That is part of the problem. I know you appreciate that.
We all know that. I mean, we know that we appreciate that. The issue here is about whether we should go for, a ban or restriction, as they're calling it now, when we have not actually made an adequate provision for us in terms of an import substitution. This is what this whole thing is about. It's import substitution. Therefore, if you are not going to bring something into your country and there's the demand for it, is there any vehicles of you yourself producing these things? Can you set up the factories and all that? And some of these things, if it's agriculture product, if it's agro processing, can you set up all these things and make sure that at least a certain percentage, and go for 60-40 or whatever, depending on what it is, and then you scale up on your local production
while
and
reducing
you scale down your import. You can't just go for what you're doing. It's going to create chaos. First and foremost, unnecessary shortage or artificial shortage will come into the system. What does that do to prices?
Drive prices up.
It drives prices up. People are not going to, and getting to Christmas, it's even a bad timing to contemplate such a thing. If you want to do this, maybe look at the following year or something, but even that, a lot of work needs to be done. This matures, if you had put this in, lay this and then matures in 21 days in Parliament, and then obviously we are not able to get 2/3, which we want to be able to stop it, then it's going to be law before Christmas. And it's going to be chaotic.
Well, technically, people will tell you that
who brought
a lot of the imports would have been done by that time anyway.
Yeah, but then, are they here? That's the problem you have. When did you import? When did they arrive here? Unnecessary chaos. So the policy is not the issue. And then again...
So fundamentally, let's get this clear for our viewers and everybody. The NDC is not saying that reducing our imports and scaling up on our exports even and local production is a problem. No. But you're saying that the timing and some aspects. So let's look at those specific aspects. You say it will give the minister too many powers. In recent times, you were saying that you people say you represent the good people of Ghana. Do they represent the bad people of Ghana? I mean, he was joking, Katie Hammond. But what are the problems specifically with the LI?
Well, basically, it gives powers to the minister to give this permit, through some committee system. Okay. Now the problem here.
You feel that will be abused?
Yeah, it will be abused. I mean, we know this is not. They call it an import permit. This is import license. We know the name from the 60s, 70s.
And
we know what is created. Corruption, monopoly, coup d'etats, all as a result of these things. At the end of the day, the goods, as you are saying in Nigeria, the goods are going to find their way here through Togo, other places by road. You are going to have problems with our borders then, where a lot of corruption will be taking place. Things will come into this country. You need to set up special task forces to go and look for people. I mean, why do we want to create problems with the already burdensome economy that we have at the moment? And that is what the issue is. And then, not only just having the power to give the permit, but he's also the one that if they refuse you permit, you will have to petition to and then he has the discretion to whether allow you or not to allow you.
So wide powers for the trade minister.
Yeah,
wide powers.
A lot of powers. And we are not talking about KT Hammond. If this were to become a regulation or law in this country, future trade ministers
will also,
and you don't know which trade minister you are going to get next, who will decide to take things into his own hands, and there's going to be some cronyism. There are people at high. Look, people are going to be bothered. My brother and I will be bothered by people if we know the minister to go and try and help them get.
Or speak to him on my behalf. Speak to her on my behalf.
We don't want that situation. It will be abused.
Hold for me just a sec. Yeah. I'll come right back to you. What do you think on that specific point? Because from where I sit, knowing how we do our things in Ghana, I do know that those powers appear to be a bit too overweening, too wide. What do you think? And will likely be abused.
I also think that based on the concern of monopoly and where the minister would have the prerogative to select who imports, that is worrying. And even if you are set aside, you have to petition the minister. My mother says that you understand. So sometimes when you're taking powers, you, the individual, have to question.
Watch yourself.
When I have these powers, what will happen to me? Because if I say no, president calls me that, hey, that's my cousin, or that's the guy who supported us heavily.
Or your leader, even your leader in parliament gives you a call.
Understand? So I think that rightly so, we better not put ourselves in that situation. And Ricketts has said it well. Sometimes when you are doing these legislation, consider the person taking the action an idiot. So if you have an idiot there, how do you feel safe proof that whoever becomes your trade minister would not be put in a situation where, sorry to say, if he's an idiot, country suffers. One of the beautiful things of the American system, and forgive me, in as much as we all thought Trump was chaotic, the system could contain his chaos because the institutions were in place, powerful systems were in place. And I always refer to when the vice president handed over power, because in the last election, it wasn't Trump that handed over power.
Yeah.
It was the vice president, Mike Pence, who handed over power. And the beauty of it was that by virtue of their constitution, the game had to be played how it was played, regardless of who the president was. And whether
I think Trump even went out. He was doing something.
Whether Trump
on that day,
whether he wanted it or not,
it was done.
The game was played appropriately because the democracy or the institutions worked, and the military made it very clear to Donald Trump that, hey, we are here to defend the Constitution of America, not an individual. So I think that the LI or the arrangement, whether we like it or not, it is very crucial that we put it in a way that, God forbid, if we have some chaotic minister,
and we will do.
I'm just there.
I mean, if you do these things, it's only a matter of time. We'll get someone who,
so that we don't run into those issues where you might have to pay an arm and a leg for license,
permit,
or permit. And I think minus that is the fact that, boy oh boy, Ghana needs to produce enough to prove to all of us that yes, we are men enough to steer our own affairs.
Reminds exactly as the Osajifo said. But it appears 63 years down the line, we are not. I just wanted your quick take on that. So let me come back to Ricketts. Now, there's also the aspect of what next? If you don't get the 2/3, this passes, what could this mean? Will the other side, his side, the MPP, listen? And the Speaker of Parliament has also directed the Trade Minister, give draft import LI to subsidiary legislation committee. What's the way forward from there?
I think it should even go beyond just the subsidiary legislation. I think committees that need to sit together, trade, finance, and all that, need to sit together with the minister to try and look at the challenges. Look, the challenges we are talking about is not only coming from us, the minority.
I know. Yesterday I spoke to the executive secretary of the Imports and Exports Association.
All of them are petitioning. So we have to listen to them. We can't just unilaterally do things and think that is the right thing to do, so you are going ahead to do it. When you know that there are problems along the way, And if the minister listens and imports some of these things into what he is presented, he himself will be better off. Because the kind of pressure he's going to get, he has no idea.
Yeah.
The pressure, and the pressures, as he's saying, is going to come from high up. What do you say to the president when he says that my cousin is at your door and wants to do something? And you are going to say that...
The very person who gave you your appointment.
Who gave you
the very person who can revoke your appointment.
Absolutely. And these things happen. Look, we've been in government, you know the challenges.
And I like the fact that you're admitting it, because it's not a matter of NDC or NPP. It happens.
Yeah.
No matter what, it will happen.
It will happen.
Excessive powers, like the aphorism says, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lord Acton's aphorism. You don't want to put yourself...
No, absolutely not. You can't say that, oh, me, I'm a principled man and I'm a this, and get into government and see. All your principles could disappear. You know, because the pressures that will be coming, and you don't want to create this situation. This will not go down well. And it will be a miserable Christmas and beyond. Because prices of goods are going to go up. Look, these market women, the moment they hear things like that, they just start hiking prices without even if they brought their things in early, because they're taking advantage to be able to, you know, prices. And already things are tough. Things are difficult. You don't want to add this to the problems that we are trying to...
Finally, on that bit, I want to find out from the two of you what the way forward is in this regard. But we'll not get involved in laying LI. That's your deputy minority leader, Kwabena. He says, you guys are not going to get involved. Quoting him, he says, we'll fight all the way to the end on behalf of the people of Ghana to express our position and the sentiments of the people, because this is not good for the people of Ghana, at least for the short term. So fighting, what does that mean?
You know, well, fighting is where we shouldn't go. Because in the end, some reasoning should prevail. You know, the minister should get off his, being stubborn and being difficult about this, that. His is to get this LI done. And listen to some, industry players and all that about the challenges that this faces. I mean, we will fight and fight as we do, in Parliament. We may not go for this, but at the end of the day, if they get a LI laid, there's nothing anybody can do. In 21 days, we are not going to get the 2/3. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So the fighting is what we are doing here at the moment, and we'll go to the House and continue the fighting. But sometimes as a country, we need to leave this bipartisan stuff and think about the nation.
Okay.
And that if it's, look, this is going to be, it's likely that the NDC will come to power next year, 2024. We are going to be confronted with this. Whoever the finance minister and the trade minister is will be in the same situation, will have to deal with this. You might think that it's powers that you will get when you are a trade minister. But the burden that powers will come with, you can't handle it.
Just quickly, since you brought this up, I was going to come to you immediately, but since you brought this up, for something like this, a legislative instrument of this nature, let's assume your party does come to power, like you're saying. What processes then must be triggered to reverse some of what you're talking about, in case that happens?
Well, that's going to be tough, but it's doable. I mean, we will have to obviously present...
and I ask that question because it means that if this gets hung around everybody's necks, going back also becomes another problem. Look, legislative conundrum.
Within a year,
the president can make a huge impact.
Yeah.
With regards to assenting to this in the first place, which I don't know. I mean, as it stands. No, I'm just... Listen, this is not the first time something has been agreed upon and then somebody impresses on the president's, thought. And he has a eureka moment and says, okay, you know what? The pressures of the trade industry.
And the president himself can indeed call Kwabena Duffuor Hammond and say, you know what, this thing...
people know him as
K.T.
Hammond.
Response to... K.T. Hammond.
So what we need to do, all of us who believe this will be problematic, is to put pressure, and hopefully, the president will hear this and say that, look, let's maybe look at this thing again. This is not going to be good for us.
Okay.
Look, in 2024, we will begin to see the massive problems that.
And I mean, I can see.
So for you, what is the way forward then, bipartisan level?
My biggest deal, and I've said it here, is that I think the numbers need to be looked at in terms of the scaling up, and that will be the most appropriate thing. And when we can show that 40% of poultry produce is gotten here, and then we want to move to 60 or 80. Fine. Listen, as we say here, we import even eggs.
Yeah.
You understand? And that means that our egg production for the average Ghanaian is not enough. And something as basic as egg production. So I worry on that note that,
No, even if you talk about eggs, talk about sugar.
We had already spoken about it. We had already spoken about sugar.
We don't produce a single sugar in this country.
Yeah.
Look, a country.
But that's also an indictment on the NDC.
Well, it's also an indictment.
Yes, but it's a huge indictment on the NDC, Kwabena and all the Exim Bank and whatever. If we are not producing even a cup of sugar. It's an indictment on your party.
Listen to him.
We build the factory. And the factory, we build the factory for a purpose.
Without
That's
sugar
what
cane.
you are saying. If we had stayed
without
in power,
sugar cane.
Who's told you that there was no sugar cane?
Where is the sugar cane?
The thing is,
if it was, I'll see it.
You did not understand the whole thing that we were doing.
How do I understand? You put the cart before the horse.
The factory is there. The
building
is there. You can say it. Government is a going concern. If you have come, you've got to continue where the other government left off and get the sugar. 7 years. Let's say we didn't plant sugar cane. You've been in power for 7 years. Does it take 7 years to grow a sugar cane?
You tell me.
I'm asking you. As far as
both sides. I had already given him his bashing that even Alan Chemating had told us within a period we would have it. But I think both parties, you see,
strategic. We built it,
Mr. Ricketts Hagan.
The factory.
This is where I when we get to this point and we're having these conversations, my heart bleeds because both of you, in many areas of our economic life, have not been fair to the ordinary Ghanaian. Look at the loan we contracted the last time for Komenda. Huge sums of money. If we are not producing, and today we are talking about this, look, reducing our imports burden is a good thing, especially where our economy is now.
I agree with
you. It's the execution, like you said. The devil is in the detail. But if we had got some of these little things right over time, we wouldn't be here.
We build the factory.
So your side must also learn to accept responsibility when that happens.
The other thing is,
they took the power.
Galamsey is damaging a lot of our agro land. Galamsey is damaging a lot of the water sources or water bodies that would make a great industry flourish. So we really have a huge problem.
Oh, we do. The president put his presidency on the line for the Galamsey. What happened?
And as it stands now, Honorable Ricketts, the key thing, I'm only pointing out that the problems are more than meets the eye. And I worry.
You're admitting that.
Oh, I mean, listen, I'm
you are a reasonable man. So
I'm as fair.
I know you are. I know you
minded when it comes to these things, and I have to talk.
And it takes a brave man like you to admit some of the things.
I have to talk for the average Ghanaian, and I really think that as part of this whole discussion, and I think I'm happy that we're making a strong case that we all agree that reducing our importation will be good for Ghana.
Absolutely.
I will be 100% for fruits, beverages importation, 100%. And I think that, we can even extend it to some other things like alcohol. And that one day, I know some of my friends will...
You want people to beat you up, eh? Yeah, I don't drink. I don't drink. I'm a teetotaler, but your own people will finish you.
I know, my people. Their cognacs and their VSOPs and whatnot.
You'll be suggesting that
on medical grounds. So I really think that, our beverage industry, that one for sure, can help us.
Yeah.
Because there's Adonko, blah, blah, blah. We have that, I think, in the system.
Yeah.
ABL, Guinness.
Yeah.
We have those in the system.
The Casaprecos.
Casaprecos. Yes, Casaprecos.
Gihok distilleries.
Gihok. So I think that when it comes to beverages, I think Ghana has a firm-handedness in that industry. And even like now, I think ceramic tiles we are doing well. The evidence is there. So when you go after these ones, where I think we can show force in a way, fantastic. But when we haven't produced a grain of sugar over 14 years, when we've been aspiring to do it.
And you want to cut your imports.
India has put people on the moon, and we can't do sugar in Ghana.
Uganda has 24 sugar factories.
No, I said India has put
I said Uganda has 24. Let's stick with the sugar, not the moon.
But we've not been able to do sugar in Ghana. That is a conundrum. So it beats my mind that, when we haven't achieved these minuscule, minute things, is highfalutin now to say that we're going to go from 0 to 100. I really think that the numbers can be adjusted. And that one, Trade Minister will have, the buy-in of the NDC. Because, listen...
And have a deliberate policy.
We are really at the point where, listen, because we're entering an election year, I also think that it's important that the cohesion we have in Parliament needs to be there to avert the mistrust in governance. Because whether we like it or not, look at Sierra Leone's clash. I am very concerned about that, and I really want to use this forum to beg parliamentarians and the judiciary and all people in government that the way and manner we carry ourselves between now and December 2024 is going to either embolden miscreants who will put this country on a different path, or make it so clear a case that governance, as we have it, is the best for Ghana.
All right, so let's hold it. Let's hold it right there. And I like your approach on both ends, because I think that's the holistic way of dealing with a problem like this. But even as you say this, I want us to go to the 24-hour economy, because then we're also looking at industry and everything in between. But before we get there, the very same points you are talking about, the Speaker of Parliament says, in fact, let me quote him. He says, you guys have no, how would I put it? You don't speak for yourselves. You toe the line of the party, which becomes problematic in discussing issues like this. He says, so on the floor they say something, and when you meet them outside, they tell you something different. He's also said, the country's polarized politics has made it difficult for MPs to have the courage to stand on their own. So, you only amplify the views of your political parties and not your individual views. That's what I like about the Congress, the Senate in the US. Have you seen how the recent Republican leaders, they've dealt with them?
I beg to differ on that.
Because
a bit.
You are espousing your thoughts here, which is very good. I mean, when push comes to shove, your party whip will whip you in line, and you vote according to the party.
I beg to differ. I think there's, to some extent, some truth to that, but it's not always the case.
There's a lot of truth to it.
In the past few months, we know some members of parliament stood up against the system. So that is...
You're meaning that Ken Ofori-Atta must go...
And that cannot be discounted.
And chickened out in it.
Well, boss, you can say chickened out.
Because they tripped them to
it wasn't
line, as you say.
Let's be a bit honest about it. You can make your case to a certain point where you have also the support of the grassroots. It's very important. And then there comes a point where when things change, you ought to adjust. And you don't use the word chicken out. And I think that, listen, there are many clear instances where, for instance, our majority leader has made it clear that, listen, this is where the party stands, but this is what Parliament stands for, and this is what we are thinking. And so I beg to differ. And even within the NDC, listen, let me cite one strong example. Some members of Parliament were not for the change in their leadership. It was not whipping. Was it whipping? They just realized that, listen, in the interest of their own party, they agreed to their current leadership to make things flow well. Was that ripping?
Well,
was that chickening out?
Let's come back to.
No, I'm just making.
So very briefly, I don't want us to spend too much time on this. I want us to talk about the 24
on this matter. But you know, the issue, as you're right. The structure of Parliament. You decide the Senate and all that. The structure of Parliament makes some of these things very difficult. You look, a lot of issues we are dealing with now. In the past, you wouldn't have heard of it when we had a clear majority and a clear minority. It is this kind of a hung Parliament that some things are being.
Is the hung Parliament a problem?
No, I said it is this type of Parliament, hung Parliament, that you are hearing some of these things that we are debating, that things are coming out. In the past, you wouldn't hear them. E-levy and all that would have gone through without you hearing anything about it. So the hung Parliament is good, but we still have a problem where the parliamentarians are part, some of the parliamentarians are part of the executive. Then they basically don't have the kind of independence that you would expect them to have to be able to check the executive. And then you have people waiting for appointment, you know, on the government side who are behaving so that they are called. So there's a whole lot of constraints that make things very difficult. And then when you are in the minority, you can shout and scream and kick your legs as much as you like. In the end, what will happen? The majority will have their way. So these problems,
it's like you say in Parliament, the minority will have
their say,
but the majority will have their way.
We'll kick our legs and all that. In the past, when we kick our legs, nobody even sees it because 169 against 106 or something, it's done. Today, 139, 130, 137, 137, we have 138. So things we're able to do things a bit more effectively as if we have the muscle. But in the end,
so you're saying
we're in.
Back to the point, do you vote on your conscience? Do you vote taking into account your constituents? Or is it the party that is supreme? Just give me a straight answer.
Well,
which is it?
You vote according to what your constituency wants you to do.
Not according to what your party tells you.
Constituency first. They elected you there. Yes, you came on a party ticket and all that. But then your constituency, like these guys, they came and said their constituent told them that Ken Ofori-Atta's position is no longer tenable. What happened?
Anyway.
And then he was talking about the grassroots being the ones you work for. The grassroots told you, get this guy out. They came and went to see the president and the party, and then, you know, what happened?
So point made, 24-hour economy. But before I do, Doc, some comments that came through from the start. Apia Justice says, yes, he is doing good work. Gradually, the roads are being done in Anyaso Utuum. But this one also says, Adriana Amui says, that is my MP. Some of our roads have been fixed and we are grateful. We only pray that the road from Dela Junction through the Deseret Hospital to Antieku Junction will be fixed soon. Antieku, you said it was.
That's
but
what I was saying. That
okay.
A portion of it has drainage.
And the person says, some of us have waist pain because of the bad road. You are affecting families. So
the men are not performing well.
I don't know. That wasn't bad roads. Simon Ofori-Amankwa, please let me finish. Thanks for asking the question on the condition of roads in this constituency, Ben. Please ask Dr. Kisi, when exactly is the project going to be completed? Because it's very, very bad when it rains, and that is also in there. You were going to say something brief?
Well, I was going to say that roads. I was just making a joke about the roads. That of course, if you travel on bad roads, by the time you get to the end of the journey, you having some pains. I mean,
but you guys are traveling in V8s, and it's the commoners like us who are feeling the pinch. Your V8s and stuff, they have the shocks to withstand them.
Well, I tell you what,
if get damaged,
you replace them.
The roads are so bad that even the V8s are not doing it.
But I've seen some roads so bad that even the V8s, I think even the vice president at a point, he was going somewhere. He got stuck.
He got stuck.
He got stuck there.
Nowhere cool.
And some of us found it very laughable because we said the roads are. You got stuck.
It's actually good for things like that to happen to us.
Cool.
It is.
Yes.
Because then you learn. But let's talk about a 24-hour economy.
Yes.
Yeah. What are the proposals that the former president, by the way, today happens to be, I was prompted that today is the birthday of
the former president. Happy birthday, excellent
President John Dramani Mahama. Yeah. We've already wished him a happy birthday. Yeah. So I guess we can move on to the nitty gritty. Now, what has he said? He says on the 24-hour economy, it will include the operation of a 3-shift system. by industries and commercial entities on a daily basis. Businesses will be encouraged to sign up with tax incentives. Encouraged.
Yeah.
Heightened security will be provided for safer cities and thereby, in effect, boost tourism. Lower electricity tariffs will be given after peak hours. Special meters will be employed to provide time of use tariffs to deliver cheaper power to such businesses during the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And 24-hour economy, this initiative will be voluntary. Okay? Those are some of the proposals that have been put up. What did the Vice President say, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? He said, a 24-hour economy cannot be legislated by the government. There are many businesses already working 24 hours, including chop bars, like he said. The track record of John Mahama doesn't show innovative thinking. And finally, it is an idea that has not been well thought through. These are the two arguments. I'll start with you.
Okay.
A 24-hour economy.
Yeah, sure.
What will it mean for Ghana as far as your side is concerned?
Yeah, no, it's obviously clear from what Vice President was saying that he clearly, has not understood what the whole policy is about, or because he's now the presidential candidate, he's going to obviously rubbish everything that comes from the other end. I was just wondering if somebody in his team has suggested this to him, this would have been his response, or at least would have given it a second look. I mean, what is doing? And then he said three things. I mean, you said things about it. He said three things. First of all, he said that the 24-hour economy is already happening.
He spoke about mobile money and all of that.
Then he said,
the point to be made is that mobile money is not generating any income.
Then he said it's impossible, as you just read. And then also he said it's a bad idea. So something that is already happening is impossible and it's a bad idea. So which of the three is which? At the end of the day, the two things we've talked about here, this brings the KT's issue in. This whole idea of import substitution is for us to be able to produce some of these things here. To produce some of these things, you need agro-processing, you need a whole lot of other industries to be working to do so. So President Mahama's proposal is not a proposal that should be poo-pooed at, but rather to take a good look at it and see what we talk about. When you say it's already happening, it's not. Because for a 24-hour economy, you need a deliberate economic policy and strategy for you to be able to, intervene and get companies and businesses across various sectors to be able to work throughout the day, or by day I mean 24 hours. So this three-shift thing that we are talking about, if you say it's already there, I mean, yes, there are hospitals, electricity company, and other water, and a few fire, law enforcement, who are already operating some kind of a 24 hours. But those are essential service economy.
And the point even to be made is, even then, when was the last time you heard that someone had a major issue and called, for example, the police? Do you know the responses people get sometimes? You are getting robbed, and I'm putting this out there.
Well, this is...
It is there. I have been to hospital during the COVID era. There was a time I had an emergency. Went to our public hospitals. Trust me, the night thing is not so. It is no 24 hours.
So
that thing is not real.
Well, that is what it's supposed to be. It may not be, but of course, sometimes maybe if the demand and stuff are not there, you're going to get people sit at night, probably do nothing, and get used to that habit. But then if there are a lot of activities, like 24-hour economy is running, the police cannot sit down idle. But what I want to say, the point I was trying to make, is that a 24-hour economy in that sector is actually essential service sector. Those are the ones that are more or less legislated. For a hospital to open, 24 hours, those are legislated. But the 24-hour economy that John Mahama is talking about, it's not about the legislated economy. It's about creating an economy with incentives, stimulus packages, to get people to want to do it and induce demand. We know already now that we have challenges with things we import into this country. All the things that we are trying to put restrictions on are opportunities for this country to be able to produce them ourselves. How can we do them? It's by being able to work, set up the factories and work to be able to do these things. I was just, before I said, look, Uganda has 24 sugar factories. 24. A country almost the same size of Ghana, the same kind of dynamics as Ghana. If Ghana were even to have 8, if we are to build 8 sugarcane factories in the next, say, 4 years, okay, that will be a third of the factories we have in Uganda. If those 8 factories should do 3 shifts, they will have to do 3 shifts to be able to meet the level of production. If you are looking at it that they are doing the same amount of production, we will have to do 3 shifts with 8 sugar factories in this country to be able to match the level of production in Uganda. That should worry us. So these are some of the things that President Mahama is proposing. And there are a lot of industries. We have agro-processing, pharmaceutical, manufacture. This document is out. I believe you have seen it. So you can take a look at it. In the construction industry, he has specified the areas where we can create this. We can start with this 24-hour economy with all the problems that the MPP and other people are talking about. Look, are not problems. Security and all those things, they are opportunities. If the security is our concern, whatever we need to do in the security will create jobs for people to do. If the police size cannot handle 24 hours, it means more recruitment into the police service. Whatever you see as a challenge. I mean, the chop bus is talking about that they operate 24 hours. Probably more chop bus will operate 24 hours because people are working 3 shifts and they have to eat. Food is actually an essential, what is it called? It's one of the essential things you can, if you go outside, you can find 24 hours, you can find food to eat. So food becomes an essential service and it creates jobs. A wachi seller who does wachi at a construction site in the morning can herself or others come in and do 2 other wachi sales. So this is the job. The main thing for 24-hour economy is to create jobs for a lot of our people who don't have work to do. Unemployment is now. Unemployment. I'll just finish on this and I'll give you the whole day too. Okay. Yeah, 24. If we get all these people to work, the 12% or so unemployment that we're experiencing in this country will go down. We have done 1D, 1F. We have not solved that problem. So, look, the document is out there. Instead of us talking about it, my brother, you can go and take a look at it, or you can have my copy and go through it in the comfort of your own home, in your and be able to see this. Okay. Because they are not paying attention to it. They are just saying that this one came from. If it had come from Dr. Baumia, that would have been the thing that. And
that is my problem. In fact, it reflects a message, and I'm going to read the message. You see, sometimes I see, for example, someone sends a message with NDC colors, and the person says something obviously skewed because you can tell that this person is affiliated with the NDC. Absolutely. Also, you see that sometimes from the MPP. I have one here. Teacher Kujo Tepa Enyina Soso, and MPP colors in there with, and the person actually says Assemblyman Hopeful Enyina Soso electoral area. Yeah. Then the person sends a message. Former President Mahama and the NDC cannot even explain what goes into this 24-hour economy. Yet you claim it is. Hold for me. Yet you claim it is groundbreaking. What at all do you people take Ghanaians for? You are just throwing something out there and start claiming it is groundbreaking so that Ghanaians will swallow it and vote for you. I put it to you. If the Vice President had proposed this, would you be saying the same thing? And at the same time, you see, this is where I feel if we are not careful, we'll never develop. If we are thinking MPP, NDC, we are so polarized that we can't even read the room or read between the lines. Mm-hmm. So no matter what it is, once it's from this side, and yet. Once it's from that side, and yet. At the same time, Mr. Assemblyman Hopeful, I wonder what you'll be doing in your assembly if you get the nod. But the TUC, the boss, Dr. Yaoba, has said this 24-hour economy is a game changer. The IEA has said that is the way to go. GUTA, AGI, academics, economists, all my guests that I had recently on this show. Even yesterday, we had Austin Game, a labor consultant. Industry players. We can't keep looking at things from it is MPP and yet it is NDC and yet we keep on like that. Only God knows.
We have provided questions and answers and place a devil advocate. You can have a look at it.
You've had your turn.
I'm just encouraging him.
Okay, so I want to set the record straight on this. From my end, I must say that the NDC has done what they do very well. Very, very well. And whether Ricketts like it or not, there's an endorsement of the 1D1F. What it means
I will tell you why it's not.
What it means is that the foundation for this concept has been laid, and they have to admit it. A huge chunk of this concept is based on the success of the 1D1F, because this thing will not take off if there's no industry. That then
is there industry? Especially when you are bleeding to the point where you are trying to cut by force, cut off imports of certain basic things that we are supposed to be producing in the first place. Is there industry?
I thought you'd let me.
No, just an intervention.
Argument. So my key thing here is that listen, whether we like it or not, I call this an enhanced version of the 1D1F, which has been repackaged. And to be sold to Ghanaians. And I have nothing wrong with the NDC being smart about something that is existing and repackaging it for Ghana. In the sense that...
Can I come in briefly? On the word repackaging. Can I come in briefly?
In the sense that, listen, if I'm I cited, for instance, cement. If I'm a cement production company, and through this initiative, if I'm already running 3 shifts, I'm going to get more incentives to do more. Fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. But there has to be a cement manufacturing industry or soon to be created cement factory industry, which then comes back to the point that Ghana needs a lot of manufacturing. And that one, without a doubt, what the NDC is doing here is accepting something that for the longest time, they found it difficult to swallow, that Ghana needs more industry.
But I keep going back. Do we have those industries?
No.
If we had them, we wouldn't be where we are. And by the way, when you were speaking of repackaging, you know this idea of a 24-hour
economy. Allowing me to.
No. This is not. I just have to clarify. This idea of a 24-hour economy, do you know how far back it goes?
No.
Way back, even when our 40-year development plan, how many years ago was that?
Yes.
It was in there. But even before the NDC took it up.
SHS was also in our system.
We had F-Cube.
We had F-Cube there in a different manner for the northern region, which he knows. So the key point is here, listen, doing an expanded, enhanced program that exists, nothing wrong with that. But the key thing is that you have to admit that there was something before we built on.
Do you admit?
And that is, for me, whether the NDC likes it or not, what this is a testament that 1D1F surely matters. This document you've handed to me, listen, you're talking about pharmaceuticals. Just recently, the president of this republic was there to commission a vaccine production company, which you know, not far from here, about 10, 20 miles from here in Amasaman. And if this wasn't there, would you think of adding 2 more shifts?
COVID make us wake up to that.
No. I mean,
we needed COVID to make us wake up to that. But in the meantime, we're still not producing enough vaccines for our children.
Boss,
you know that.
I'm just focusing on pharmaceuticals because it is one of the things here. Now, I was at a fertilizer production company not too long ago on the invitation of the Minister for Agric. And for me, because of the ability to produce fertilizers in Ghana, if the company now does 2 shifts, based on this, they can move to 3 shifts. So whether we like it or not, this is an enhancement of 1D1F.
So is a 24-hour economy a good thing? Is it a good idea?
I said what? And it is a plus.
Is it a good idea?
Oh, what I mean, a plus, what does that mean?
No, I'm just trying to find, is it a good idea?
A plus is even telling you that I'm happy that they have agreed and accepted that what is there is good for Ghana to the extent that we have to up it. And how can you up something that you don't like? What this means is that the NDC is much in love with the 1D, 1F program. And when you go to leisure and hospitality, fantastic. Listen, I have been in New York, California, many other places, London, and 24 hours. You know, even London sleeps more than New York.
So can I help you?
London,
can I help you with the figures?
Even London,
if you want me to bring them in.
Which figures are we talking about? I'm
talking about the night economy, for example, of London. It moved from 17.7 billion. I've been sharing these figures. I'll keep doing them.
Okay.
To 26.3 billion in 2014. Year on year, by 2026, they are projecting annual add-ons of 1.63 million. It's created 1.26 million jobs, 60,000 additional jobs yearly. You can look at Sydney. In 2017, it yielded $27.2 billion to the economy of Sydney, created 234,000 jobs. We can go on and on to New York and Las Vegas in the US, Tokyo in Japan, Seoul in South Korea, Singapore, Dubai, all of these.
Listen,
they are doing it.
I see the sanitation and waste management. We just put up water production in Adaklu recently. If they are doing one shift there, this means that they'll be doing 3 shifts so that they produce more water for more people. Now, what I'm just trying to say is that once there's a foundation, building on is fantastic. And I must thank Nana Doddo Akufo-Addo for doing a foundation which now the NDC finally sees that they can take off.
Thank you. I have to get this quick response.
And whether I want it to be on record wherever you go, that this is an enhanced 1D, 1F.
Quick, you don't have that much time. Please go straight to the point.
I think you should be part of, what is it called, Dr. Baumia's team to advise him on this, because he is saying this is basically a bad idea, but you are here endorsing the idea.
I'm saying it is an enhanced 1D.
Well, he never said that. He said it's a bad idea entirely.
He said it is already existing.
But let me,
I have even gone further.
Let me. I don't have much time.
It's an enhanced 1D, 1F. The word is enhanced.
Can I
repackage?
Can I have
repackaged?
Can I have my 10?
So it is not original.
Can I have my 10, please?
It is not an original thought.
Dr. Adumaku Kisi.
Okay. So, but I'm glad that he's admitted.
But I thought this was for me now.
I'll give it to you. I'm speaking to you. So when I finish, I'll give it to you. And I will show you where you can also get it. Now, this is different from, all this is based on industrialization.
1D,
the problem,
1F?
No.
1D,
1F is a method of industrialization. There are different ways of industrializing. With your 1D, 1F, we disagree with your method. We all know we have to industrialize. But your method of industrialization, which is hidden in secrecy, and we don't know which people are getting the benefit, is where the problem is. If you have built 169 factories or supported 169 factories.
How many will you build?
Hold on, let me finish. If you have that, we would have seen in the economy. Look, in Nkrumah's time, the population was very small. But we had when Nkrumah built 70 factories or whatever. And you could visibly see them. These guys, the factories, they talk about anything. Anytime we talk about 1D, 1F, they talk about Ekumfi. I don't know if you have the Ekumfi before. I mean, nobody knows what is happening. Ekumfi is not even marketed. You don't even hear. If there's something...
We've spoken about that. It's not... But I have drunk Ekumfi.
Okay, but the problem here is that our method of industrialization, our method of 24 hours will not be based on 1D, 1F. It's an industrialization, all right, and that is what we need, but not based on 1D, 1F, where cronies are...
But let me ask you this. Are you saying that 1D, 1F will be no contributing factor at all if the NDC comes through and you are...
I like that question.
What is governance? Governance is a continuum, right? Absolutely. You build on what others have done, no matter how small, even if it is 1 out of 100.
He's talking about...
Let me make the point. Even if it's 1 out of 100, you build on something. If you come and some industries have been put in place, it still feeds into it, doesn't it?
Yes or no? You have given this advice to me.
Yes or no?
You came and Community Sugar Factory was built, but you decided not to make it work and say that we didn't grow sugar cane. You've been in power for 7 years. You couldn't grow sugar cane. I don't know whether it takes 10 years to grow your sugar cane.
They have the Ekumfi factory up and running.
And then 1D, 1F, they say they've created 169 companies with 169,000 people have been employed. Yet unemployment keeps going up. These 169 companies, you don't know where they are. They have painted, some people have
given you the list.
You've given the list now. The companies are doing absolutely nothing. That is not industrialization.
But the truth, the truth is that cottage industries. The truth is that some of them are up and running, and we've also checked on some that are in a shambolic state. Nothing is happening.
Pampers. What else do you know that is?
I would leave that to
Pampers, ceramics. Cement manufacturing.
Look, what you are doing is not industrialization. You are just enriching your cronies. That's basically what you are doing. This 1D, 1F. And at the end of the day, all the monies that are being given to all the monies that are being given to these companies for 1D, 1F, you know, they are borrowed money from banks. And in the end, they have a contingent liability risk on government. If these guys don't pay the money, it is the NDC government that will come to power and pick up all this, in addition to the almost about.
But I think I get the point. Essentially, if you look at it, while 1D, 1F may be a subset factor in a way into what their plan is, it's a much bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Yes, it goes beyond over and above anything we are currently doing. That is a fact.
Do you agree to that now?
Gentlemen,
do you agree to that now that it's enhanced 1B, 1F?
Stimulus package to pharmaceutical industry.
The key word.
And all that. We give them money to
enhance, repackage.
We have about.
We are building a pharmaceutical.
Enhanced.
We were already
enhanced and repackaged.
Gentlemen, please let me coordinate this.
Enhanced, repackaged.
Over here.
1D.
Over here.
1F.
Gentlemen.
Enhanced and repackaged.
I will recommend you
Dr. Adumaku Kisi
to be part of Dr. Baumier's team.
So
that
over here I play the role of Alban Bagwin. Okay. I give you the opportunity to speak or not to speak. So please, over here I am number 2 or number 1. It reminds me of when
we don't have numbers.
We were spewing the numbers.
We don't have numbers. He's number 3.
Okay, so to wrap the conversation, 2 quick things. E-jobs for all to reach 10,000 youth. I laughed when I saw this because I feel already there are so many things to create jobs. Why do we need to have to create something else, spend money, get into it? But this is targeted at Galamsey.
The mining communities.
Yeah. Then there's also the bit about the Criminal Offences Amendment Act, which has also raised quite a storm about the fact that it never got to Mr. President, and now the time has supposedly passed. I can't wrap my head. Those 2 points in 1 minute. What are your quick thoughts on?
So I
a minute each.
Sure.
I think that the table office or clerks in Parliament should have prompted the Speaker when he started talking to pause, but somehow it got missed in translation. So. Is a lesson for all of us.
But how is it possible that after all this time, supposedly with all we know what the process is. It never got to Mr. President. How?
Like I said, the clerks or the table office really should have prompted Mr. Speaker when he was talking. As to when and how, I am just making my point that it's so unfortunate. Administratively, Parliament goofed because I'm a member of Parliament. And I think that it's unfortunate that this happened because it's embarrassing. I mean, when I think about the topic, I just feel embarrassed that, we did this on national TV. And I've also, learnt my lesson that before I go on national TV and talk, sometimes I need to be careful and double check my facts. I am learning from that. And it is one of our down points in Parliament. But no harm intended. I think we'll correct what needs to be corrected. But the key thing, which I need to put out there, that listen, the message did not leave Parliament to the executive arm.
All right, so fine. Your point is made. You are creating e-jobs. Now you are creating, everything is e. E-jobs too are coming, please. 10,000 jobs to be created.
Abu Jinapor is a very innovative person. He's thinking and very entrepreneurial. So, and he's done many things that I thought was not possible with this Ministry of Lands and Mines and
Natural Resources.
And natural resources. And I think that, listen, just by way of him adding to the job market, I'm fascinated. And this is another version of the Alternative Livelihood Program, which was done for communities within the mining sector. And let me add that I was very touched when I saw that one of the mining boys had now gotten his graduation from university and has been sponsored to go out to further his education. So there's a path to moving some of these boys in Galamsey to regular institutions.
Okay.
So that there's an alternative. And I think that this should be supported across.
Thank you.
Quickly,
Ricketts Hagan, on both points, very quickly. Less than a minute if you can.
That, I really don't believe this thing that never got to the president. Look, we have processes, and the technical people there. Look, I said I don't want to believe that. It means the system is not working. I mean, imagine if E-Levy had got stuck somewhere. Somebody at the presidency would have asked for it, though it happened in Parliament. There are processes. There are places where these things get to. And if things don't get there, people should be asking questions.
They are saying the president asked Parliament to bring a letter.
E-jobs.
I'm saying that, I don't believe it anyway. I don't believe that what is coming.
So what do you believe?
E-jobs.
What I believe is that
we have to go.
The president was probably having a second thought on
E-jobs.
On doing this. E-jobs. I mean, again, another 11 tower thing these guys are doing. President put his presidency on this Galamsey from the beginning of his presidency, that if he fails, he will resign. He's still in power. Now at the 11th hour, he's about to leave power. He's creating e-jobs. They will say better late than never. But this will never see any. It's another avenue for people to corrupt themselves and enrich themselves. And then another professor, what is it called? What's his name? The professor was a minister, environment minister.
No professor has talked.
Another professor from Mansu will be writing another. What is it
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
On
this is where we are going to have to cap off the conversation.
We're writing a report.
I never stop smiling and laughing when I have MPs in the studio. It's always very interesting. But thank you so much for coming. Yes. Now you are doing this. So we've had Kweku Ricketts Hagan, Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South, Dr. Dixon Adomako Kisi, MP Anya. Soweto. We are grateful for what you are doing with the road, and we hope that it's not in your purview as members of Parliament, but at least you are getting something.
We are getting something done. Still a developing economy.
Well, we have AM Business coming up shortly after the break, and it's courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Today, as Ghana strives towards digitizing its economy, the adoption of emerging technology and innovations in business processes remains critical. But how do we handle that? That conversation after the break.
We are here at the Ghana Digital Innovation Week. This is the third edition, and it's basically a platform where innovators, where the tech space or players in the tech space come together to showcase what they have and also encourage conversations around ways we can improve our tech ecosystem. With me are two gentlemen who are playing very active roles in the program and also in the space. Emmanuel Mumuni is the component manager at GIZ. And also David Ofori is the head of innovation at NEIP. Now, let me begin with you, Emmanuel. First of all, some of these initiatives are great, but what do we hope to achieve?
Right. I mean, innovation is the engine that drives economic growth, and I think Ghana is in a situation where we are trying to, propel our economy forward, and innovation is one of the key drivers. And what we are seeking to do here is to really stimulate, but also throw a spotlight on existing innovation. So like David said earlier on, we have innovators that are born, and we want to stimulate them to do more innovation. But we also have innovators that are doing great things already. All they need is a spotlight. They need to make people know about their innovation so that they get a market for that, or they need partnerships. And these are the events where you can discover partners, you can discover customers or clients for your products and services. And it will surprise you the number of innovations that have been unearthed in the last 3 days. Because we also think that all the innovations are in Accra, but there's so much happening in Kumasi, in the northern region, in eastern region, all these other areas. How do we bring them to fore? for our economic development. And this is what the platform seeks to do.
A lot of the time, the concerns are that we seem to work in silos. So you see fragments of initiatives going on, but that collective effort is what is lacking. What are you doing to be able to bridge the gap going forward?
Right. So what we've done recently is to cluster different actors. So in the past, we don't have a full understanding of who is in the ecosystem. So we've done a mapping of the entire ecosystem to know who is playing in the policy space, who is playing in the private sector space, and then now come up with groups, working groups, where people can share. So we have one for the development partners, where every single development partner is meeting up with the Ministry of Communication and reporting to the ministry what is coming up, what is being done, and the ministry is providing orientation and saying that, you know what, the country is going towards this direction and we need you all to invest your resources in that direction. And that brings about some uniformity in our initiatives. If you look at the private sector is also, coming to fore. They are very interested because they know that this is how we can move our economy forward. And then CSOs, private sector, everyone is coming together. So it's a story for the past, I would say, because now in the future there's a bit more cohesion, and I think we would only see the fruits of the seeds that we are sowing in the next couple of months or years to come.
Let me come to David. Emmanuel here just elaborated on some of the actions being taken to bring together, the players in the ecosystem to build a solid value chain. Now, what are we doing to encourage innovation, science in their curriculum and their everyday life, so they sort of grow with it, so we can have that generation?
Right, and thank you for that. Again, as you can see, some of the evidence of what we're doing is what we see here. I mean, this year the GDIW has had the largest participation by students, and thanks to NEIP saying, look, we want to focus more on the high school level. So we have innovation challenges at the high school level. We've partnered with the Ministry of Education to do the STEM innovation. Ghana, we're driving STEM education. Digital transformation, the fruit of it, or the seeds of that, is STEM education. And because we've taken the conversation down to high school level, it's now where people are forming their ideas, So before someone even chooses maybe his or her next program at the university or at the tertiary level, they know exactly why I'm pursuing a certain program, because they've been exposed to a certain environment that is triggering things in their mind. How often do we hear that, oh, I studied this in the university, but I'm not too sure if it was the right thing for me. Now we want to do away with that, and we think that this is the seeds that we are planting to change that narrative. So even over time, there will be that great connect between academia and industry.
Bridging the gap between academia and industry. Now, it's one of the concerns, especially with industry. We seem to have a certain drive for, SMEs, for small businesses and all of that. Automation of some of their business processes is key. How do we ensure that going forward? How are we able to ensure this connection that an SME, for instance, can employ, the services of a robot or some automating process, for instance, to be able to, enable efficiency?
Well, so again, ensuring that is bringing the actors together, like Emmanuel said before, because it's a decision the business has to make. You can only encourage them, but the business has to say, look, if I want to have certain efficiency, certain effectiveness, I want to stay alive. They say innovate or you die. So they have to come to that realization that if I want my business to survive the next 50 years, the next 70 years, the next 100 years, what do I need to do different? GDIW offers a platform where you can meet the actors who will help you. There are tons of solutions around here. Some are using artificial intelligence, robotics, drone technology, and all of that. I mean, look at that as a country. If we sat down and said that the disconnect between our healthcare and our countryside, we were able to bridge that with Zipline. That is innovation. So as a company, you also need to look at, okay, in my next 50 years, what will I need? And you get the actors to come in and say, look, we can help you with this solution, and also having the confidence in them that, look, it may be a young business, it may be a young startup, but don't really rule them out, because sometimes we think that, oh, what do they know in business, or how long have they been around? That era has long gone.
If you look at our current policy framework, is it enough? Is it good enough to enable that growth we are looking for, or we need to do more?
Yeah, I think there are still quite a number of gaps that are yet to be filled, but government is I mean, in recent times, working on the digital economy policy, which is kind of 360 policy solution to the digital transformation space, and it touches on digital entrepreneurship. It goes on verticals in health, agri, and the like. And I think if it's in place, it would really fill a lot of these gaps. But I think there are certain specific innovation verticals that are still yet to be covered in terms of gaps. So looking at artificial intelligence, looking at some of the other emerging technology. And I know the ministry is working on the national AI strategy as well. It's something that we are supporting them on as well. So there are quite a number of things in the pipeline. And I think if we are able to move them to fruition, we would have achieved some level of coverage, I would say.
About AI and whether we should regulate the space. Do you think it's early days yet, or it's a necessary evil?
Yeah, it's one of the big topics that we've been having, and David would say we've had so many of those engagements across the board, and I think it's still very much early. It's still early in the day, considering that it's an emerging technology. It hasn't emerged yet. It's emerging. It's still in the verb form, and if we put policies, very stringent policies now, it would affect the growth of it, especially because we don't really fully understand the scale and scope of it, right? So even the more advanced countries, they are still holding back to regulate it as much as possible. But what we need to do is to provide guidelines, guidelines for innovators. What can you do? What can you do? We also have issues around data protection. That is, Data Protection Commission is an organization driving the AI policy. So I would say my short answer would be early days, but we still need to do our own research. There's a lot of talk about the Afrocentric data as well. We are using data from the West, and it's not really working for us. We need to create our own data. This is the only way we can lead.
David, regulation now or maybe a little bit in the future, how do we leapfrog?
Yes, again, if you look at what we did with mobile money in the fintech space, what drove the success of it is not too much regulation from the outset, so that you allow things to be adopted and it sinks in, then you can come with the regulation, because regulation sometimes can be a massive inhibitor of innovation. So if you look at even our central bank, the Bank of Ghana has a sandbox to allow fintechs to innovate, but in what you call in a safe space. So before something comes out, it's been tested in a way we see the fallouts and all of that. And I think we should adopt the same thing with emerging technologies, so that we don't kill the innovation aspect of it, because otherwise, like Emmanuel said, we won't get the full benefit of that technology. We also need infrastructure like data centers, because where is our data being held? That's crucial. If you're talking about data sovereignty, data latency, all of that meant that to have that unique African data set, unique Ghanaian data set, it has to be stored within our own jurisdiction or within our own control, so that who handles our data, we have a control over that. I'm always for policy, I'm always for regulation, but regulation have to be tamed so that we allow innovation to really sprout out and really grow.
Come along and let's see some of the innovations on display.
I'm here now with Joshua Pokwajiman. Joshua is the president of the IoT Network Hub, and he's here to take us through some of the items on display, some of the innovations they've been able to build, some of the tools that they've been able to build. So Joshua, what do we have here?
So we start with Asantua. She's called Asantua, right. And our concept is to build a humanoid robot. We've seen Sophia from Saudi Arabia. And then just yesterday we saw Mia from Polish. He's now a CEO. Our concept is to also understand how we can build a humanoid robot, not necessarily to take away our job, but to also complement our job. So as Antoine at the moment, he can see, she can hear, she can speak. There's microphone, there's camera, among other things.
So can we get her to say something?
It's still in the development processes, so at the moment you have to pair with your phone to be able to communicate. Right. But we're hoping that next year, everything will be perfect. It will have wheels, and you'll be able to recognize people at the conferences, engage with them, and all that.
Right, sure. Okay, so
anywhere from 100 billion to 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
However, a 2015 paper published in the journal Nature estimated that the number of trees around the world is much higher, 3.04 trillion. Interesting, right?
Now take us around. Let's check some of the items you have on display. So, is this fan made by yourself?
Okay, so this is a normal fan that we use in our homes.
Okay.
But then we bought a technology called the IoT Smart Home that allows you to connect your existing appliances and be able to connect and control them on your phone wherever you are. So on the bottom here, when I click on the light goes off, and then the status change to off. When I click on fan will go off, and as you can see, the fan is going off, and status change to off. When I click on light again, the light will come on, status come on. What it means is that if you are in a hurry to go to work, and then you forgot to turn off AC, you don't have to drive back home to turn them off. You can see on your phone that the status are on, press a button, and they'll be able to go off. Another interesting thing.
Can we employ this in our business? For instance, if we have a process we want to automate, can we use this technology?
Yes, so the same technology can be used in business processes, such as poultry farmers who every night, whenever there's weather conditions, they have to go to the farm and turn on their heating system. They can be in their bedroom and monitor the environmental condition there and still press a button to control that. Another interesting thing about it is that you can also control this with your voice. So even if you're not close to your phone, you can say, hey Google, please turn off the lights. Right? With that command, the AI system will turn off the lights.
Ghana's digital economy will thrive on the adoption of technological innovations by businesses. The automation of business processes will guarantee the needed efficiency and output. To achieve this goal, government will have to be deliberate in creating policies which will facilitate the growth of the sector.
Welcome back on the AM show, and we're going to cap off all the conversations we've had on the show today. Yes, again, on the political front. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with the members of Parliament for Anyaso Utuom and Cape Coast South. But now we have someone who wants to become a member of Parliament, and we were teasing him before we came on air, asking him about why he even wanted to do this. Well, maybe I'll ask him when I get to him. He's vying for the governing NPP's parliamentary candidacy in Ningo Pram Pram. Some will say, of all places. Well, John Manche Akwete is in the studio. Good to have you back.
Thank you, my brother.
The brave NPP man who wants to unseat a certain Jata.
Truthfully, you don't even need to be brave to want to unseat Jata because...
But people from your side have tried and failed. They've tried and failed.
In an election, one wins and one loses.
Yes, but your people have tried and failed.
It doesn't make the other the better option. Truth is...
So are you saying, hold on, are you saying the people of Ningo Pram Pram don't know what is good for them, and so they've been selecting the wrong people?
I can't say that they don't know what's good for them, but they're always faced with choices to make. And when you go into an electioneering campaign, your message and your persona informs the decision of the electorates. I don't think the past candidate did badly, but probably the messaging and the presentation wasn't as strong as it should have been. That is what we have learned from, and we are confident that this time, in the history of the 1992 Constitution, you will see an NPP member of Parliament.
Ningo Pram Pram has a very popular candidate in Sam George, especially, again, he's also riding on the wave of the anti-LGBTQ recently. He has a certain now even international clout. How are you going to deal with all of that?
When Sam George came to face E.T. Mensah, the clout E.T. Mensah had at the time was like 100 times what he claims he had.
What he had. Okay.
And
what he claims he has now.
Oh, I mean, when we talk about LGBTQ, I normally don't want to go there, but the sort of hypocrisy that Sam George exhibits when it comes to this LGBTQ is overwhelming.
How so?
Ask everybody in Pram Pram who Sam George's campaign manager is.
Hey.
And his sexual orientation. If he's serious.
Okay, so this is getting interesting. The conversation right when I brought in LGBTQI and Sam George's bit, you are saying that Sam George is being a hypocrite and that we should ask who his campaign manager is.
Yes, and his sexual orientation. It's an open secret in the town of Pram Pram. Everybody knows it. So when you see a character like Sam George jumping from radio station, you know.
But wait. What you've mentioned is a very crucial. It's a crucial matter, and it borders on someone's. Hold on. Yes. Someone's reputation, sexuality, and it's a tricky affair. You are sitting here saying you know that person's sexual orientation, and you are speaking about it.
No, okay, you after I've left, send your reporters to Pram Pram. Okay, and make your own judgments after the interview.
No, but you are making. We are not.
But I'm telling you, I'm sitting on live television. I'm telling you that Sam George's hypocrisy is untold. How can you jump for your own personal person, a known gay in Pram Pram? So why would you deal with him first? Why would you find solution? Do you know what Sam George did?
Tell me.
Sam George knew he was losing the Ningo Pram Pram NDC primaries. Non-existent in the communities, very arrogant, not a likable person. So he had to find a way out. Do you know his main campaign message during his primaries was that his opponent was being sponsored by LGBT? Has he been able to prove that?
I don't know about whether that was his main campaign.
Waiting for him to come and use LGBT.
But you're talking of a church elder in the Perez Chapel, and you are saying that
he's an elder.
You're asking whether he's an elder.
I was an elder going around insulting people before. Let's not go there. This church, I don't want to get involved. But if you had a church, would you make Sam George an elder in your church?
Hey.
No, I'm asking you.
What kind of comments?
No, if you had a church.
I don't have a church. I don't run a church. I don't own a church.
Maybe that's why. But it's their church. Maybe they have their own parameters they set for their elders. But if I had a church, Sam George wouldn't even be a security man in my church. Trust me.
So what is your, now that you've already gone on this tangent?
No, you brought it up.
No.
I'm trying to tell you.
Now that you've already gone on this
the LGBTQ is a very hypocrite. He should stop that.
He should stop it.
He should stop the hypocrisy. In fact, if you are talking about champions of LGBT, we are talking about people like Moses Fuamini, who started this way back.
True.
You get what I'm saying?
The boxing.
Yes. He was like, when we talk about LGBTQ in Ghana, he's the one we should be talking, not Sam George.
Sam George, together with his cohorts, are the ones pushing this in Parliament.
What were they pushing?
They are the ones who actually tabled this petition and everything.
They
were making noise.
The real people behind it, you the media won't give them that space. You won't give them the headline. So nobody, they are the ones who...
But everyone who supported, who sponsored this bill has spoken, we've given that person audience.
No, not as much as... In fact, I won't blame you because he would rather come and present himself as a champion. But I'm saying he should deal with his own home issues. How his campaign manager is an open... Everybody knows.
So let me ask you, is this going to be your campaign strategy when you go toe-to-toe?
No.
If you get the nod.
Yes. This is not...
Is this going to be your campaign
I don't have to go around and tell people that Sam George... They know. After the primaries, they got to know that he just used it as a politics because his campaign message during their primaries was that his opponent was using LGBT funds to fund his campaign. That's all. That's how come he won the primaries. But he can't use it against me. He won't even try because he knows I know what is going on. You hear what I'm saying? Oh, he won't try.
Okay. I'll leave you and Sam George to thrash out those issues. I know he'll come after you, but that's
no. He can't come after. Let me.
But let me.
Yes.
He can't come after you?
No, he can't. Sam George is a small boy to me. No. Sam George, let me tell you. Sam George is a dada, so far as I'm concerned. All the things he's just shouting but when it comes to real action, you won't see him. He knows what I can do. Go to Ningo Pram Pram.
The same Sam George who was in Ayawaso West Wugon and even got assaulted is Adadaba. And
when they threw the slap, didn't you see his reaction? He vanished and came on Facebook and was saying he was shot 5 times.
But on a more serious note,
yes.
If you were Sam George as a member of parliament, would you also get into fisticuffs with the other?
But it's
no, is that what you are saying?
No, I'm saying it's childish for you to go there and even do that. As a member of parliament, you go and stand in front of security to show that you are brave. He never knew that the guy could throw a point.
Anyway.
You get what I'm saying? So let's that's what Sam George. He's not a subject we should discuss on.
It's all right. I mean, the thing is, Sam George isn't here to defend himself.
One day you should invite, and maybe after our primaries.
Definitely. So what we're going to do?
You know what he's doing?
Hold.
Ben, let me say
it's enough. What we're going to do is we're also going to give him ample opportunity. In fact, the same way we did the first time you came here and said he was a disaster.
Yeah.
We brought him here, and he shared his thoughts on this matter. We're going to do same for the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, because these are some pretty wild allegations you have made today. But let's focus on your campaign.
Yes.
Come the 2nd of December, which is Saturday, you are trying. You're already throwing pot shots at the person who is already MP, but you are now trying within your party
it's a process.
to get the nod to become the candidate. And then, if you do, you will go toe-to-toe with Sam George.
Yeah.
What is your message, Manche? What is your message?
Thank you very much. Ben, I'm happy you have lived in Ningo Pram Pram at least for a while before.
Not lived, but worked.
Worked, yes, okay. And the potentials in Ningo Pram Pram are enormous. You know, the way Ghana is carved now, our political leaders become like fathers of our communities. They become change agents, and they become the people look up to, so far as their hopes and aspirations are concerned. It's rather unfortunate that for the past 20 years or so, Ningo Pram Pram has not had that figure that I'll compare to somebody like Afenyo Makin. When you see what Afenyo Makin or even Okojeto Ablakwa does in his constituency, Ben, are you not marveled yourself? The sort of passion, the care, deliberately looking for opportunities for the people. That is how communities develop these days. Before I came in, I was telling your production team that, in my opinion, MP should even bid up to 100,000 Ghana cedis, because the sort of commitments they have in their communities, you have no idea.
I do.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. I do. You do. Thank you for understanding. I agree with you on this. So
I don't know about the salary increment though.
Yes,
it's something that has come up even recently.
It's a fact you can't run away from. They do a lot. They are the weddings. They are fixing roads. They are building.
But that, don't you think that will also be giving sort of legislating this beggarly attitude of people? I mean, someone told me once that someone was laying a foundation and came to him that, I'm laying a foundation.
Of course, yes. Some are also
help me. I mean, there are things that we also shouldn't give credence to that.
I agree 100%. Some are just way over there, but some are also very important. You deal with constituents who have needs, okay? And sometimes you think it's been a burden on them, but truthfully, they don't have anywhere to go.
Okay, so that point is made. So what are you bringing on board?
Yes, I want to be the member of parliament who will deliberately, the word is deliberately, seek opportunities for the people. One of the cardinal things I want to do is to transform TVET in Ningo Pram Pram. There are a lot of TVET practicing people in the community. We have tailors, masons, but they do it on a small scale. I want to put them together into unions where we'll be lobbying for big jobs and contracts for them. Want to turn Ningo into a fashion hub. When you're looking for one of the best seamstresses and tailors in Ghana, you should come to Ningo. I think it's a gift God has given to them, but for some reason they're unable to showcase it. Another one is sports. The sort of talents we have in Ningo Pram Pram, especially when it comes to football, is unmatched. I've begun talking to some agents across the country, across the world, to see how we can help these young people get contracts to play outside. What this does is that it opens opportunity for other young people to also emulate. When I was in school in Old Ningo, we had a guy called Boy. I can tell you on authority that that boy is a better player than Messi and Ronaldo put together. When he picks the ball, he has to release it, but nobody takes the ball from him. But today, the last time I saw him, I was chatting with him because nobody helped. At that time, we had a member of parliament who was also the Minister for Youth and Sports. I want to use sports as a tool to bring development to Ningo Pram Pram. The other one is that, Ben, if you're a member of parliament...
So we have to go. This will be your final point then.
Yes. Anytime I come here, you try cutting me.
No, actually, it's the time. If you look at the time, you see that we actually have to wrap the show.
Right, that's right. But one last thing is that when you become a member of parliament, it's a privileged position you occupy. You must use it judiciously to the benefit of the people. The roads in Ningo Pram Pram, Ben, they are a worry to me. I can't promise that I'm going to fix all the roads, but I will put my legs on the ground, make sure that I lobby whoever the minister is to see to our roads in Ningo Pram Pram.
And you think the sitting MP hasn't tried that? The last time he came here, do you know the sort of work that is done behind the scenes to get roads done? I think, have you seen the bridge? The Dawenya Bridge, that bridge. Yes. Have you seen the state of it?
Yeah,
do you know how much action has been brought just to fix that? And it's still not happened.
Yes.
So it's easier said than done to come and say you will lobby Minister A or B.
That's what I'm saying, that action is not organizing langars and threatening the president's convoy. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what Sam George and Kuwa said. What you do is to lobby. We are 276 constituencies. Every community has needs when it comes to roads. You don't go and threaten the minister and the president and you think they will heed to your calls and come and fix the roads. As I speak with you, there's a bridge close to Dawenya when you are getting to the railway line. It has some issues. Tomorrow, I'm taking welders there to survey and we are going to fix that problem. That's what MPs do in their own small way. Not lamenting and shouting. If you ask Sam George what he has done with this common fund, there's nothing to point out. Apart from sharing hand sanitizer during the 2020 election.
Well, so when Sam George comes, we'll find out whether all you are saying, what his perspective is on all of these matters. But thank you very much, John Manche Akwete. He is vying on the ticket of the governing New Patriotic Party. He's not even there yet. On the 2nd of December, he wants to get the nod from the MPP to become the parliamentary candidate for Ningo Pram Pram. And then he just might, if he gets the nod, go toe-to-toe with Sam Jatta George. Like I said, we'll also give the other side the opportunity to reflect what their thoughts are on some of these matters that have been mentioned. But John Manche Akwete is the one who joined us. I was because of time, I was going to ask you about that incident on the back of the dam.
Exactly. So we are with them, and from here I'm moving back straight to the constituency to see how we can bring aid to them. We started already, but we'll continue and make sure.
What aid are you taking to them?
Oh, we are all the relief items you can think about. We're working with NADMO to make sure mattresses.
You're working with NADMO?
NADMO, yes. To make sure. I can't do this alone. I can't do this. So we need all the institutions on board.
But isn't that the purview of the MPP, the MP who coordinates these? I mean, there's the dissect, there's the Rex.
Truthfully, I heard he was there yesterday. As to what he wants to do there, I don't know. But I heard for the first time, he had shown some, and that's very good. He was there yesterday, but I'm also appealing to your viewers. If anybody has help, they can bring them to you so that we get into our people in the good program. But the major
John Manche Akwete,
and
thank you.
Make sure
thank you for joining the conversation. John Manche Akwete hopes to become the NDC's parliamentary candidate in Ningo Pram Pram, and the MPP's parliamentary candidate in Ningo Pram Pram, and then to unseat Sam Jatta George of the NDC. Well, that's all time will allow us to do. We've even gone past what we would ordinarily do. We're grateful that you took the time to watch us this morning on the AM show. We'll be back tomorrow with a lot more. But up next on this network, we're independent, fearless, and credible. We'll be serving you Joy News Desk. Stay for that.